Victor Resnick pressed the knife against Emma's throat and smiled. "Your great aunt stole from my family 60 years ago," he whispered. "Now you're going to tell me where she hid it, or I'll open you up and take that baby as payment." Emma's hands flew to her swollen belly, 7 months of hope crushed against the wall of a house shaped like a lantern. 3 days ago, she had been a pregnant widow with nothing. Now she had inherited secrets worth $245 million, and the men who had been hunting those secrets for decades had finally found her. Before we continue this incredible journey, please subscribe to our channel and stay with Emma until the very end. Comment below with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far across the world this story reaches. The phone call came at 6:47 in the morning. Emma Collins was already awake. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours at a time since Daniel died. The baby made sure of that, kicking and turning, reminding her constantly that life was still growing inside her even when everything else felt dead. She looked at the screen. Unknown number, Vermont area code. "Hello, Mrs. Collins." A woman's voice. Professional, cold. "Yes. This is First National Bank. I'm calling about your mortgage." Emma closed her eyes. "I know. I'm behind. I'm trying to." "Mrs. Collins, you're not behind. You're in default. 3 months without payment. We've initiated foreclosure proceedings." "Please, my husband died 6 months ago. I'm pregnant. I just need more time." "The grace period has expired. You have 30 days to vacate the property or we'll begin eviction procedures." The line went dead. Emma sat on the edge of her bed, one hand on her belly, and stared at nothing. 30 days. In 30 days, she would be homeless. Pregnant, alone, with nowhere to go and no one to call. Daniel's parents had cut her off after the funeral. Blamed her for letting him drive that night, as if she could have stopped him, as if she had somehow caused the black ice that sent his car spinning into a guardrail at 70 miles an hour. Her own parents had been dead for 9 years. No siblings, no aunts or uncles, no one. She had $43 in her checking account, a job at a diner that paid $8 an hour plus tips, and a baby who would arrive in 2 months whether she was ready or not. Emma forced herself to stand, forced herself to shower, forced herself to put on the stained uniform and drive to work. Frank, her manager, was waiting when she arrived. "Emma, my office." Her stomach dropped. She followed him past the kitchen, past the storage room, into the cramped space he called an office. "I got a call from the bank," Frank said. "They're looking for you, asking about your employment status." "Frank, please, I need this job." "I know you do." He sighed and ran a hand over his face. "Look, I like you. You're a good worker, but you've been late 3 times this month. You forgot to close out your register twice. One of the regulars complained that you were crying while you took his order." "I'm sorry, I'm trying. I know what you're going through. I do, but I've got a business to run." He reached into his desk and pulled out an envelope. 2-week severance. It's the best I can do." Emma stared at the envelope. The world tilted sideways. "Frank, please, I have nowhere else to go." "I'm sorry, Emma. I really am." She took the envelope, walked out of the diner, sat in her car in the parking lot and watched the snow fall. This was it. This was rock bottom. Pregnant, jobless, about to be evicted with $200 in severance pay and no hope left. She drove home on autopilot, checked the mailbox out of habit. Bills, collection notices, a letter from the bank confirming what they had already told her, and one envelope that didn't belong. Heavy cream-colored paper. Expensive. The kind that felt like money between her fingers. Morrison and Thatcher attorneys at law. Helena, Montana. Emma's hands trembled as she opened it. "Dear Miss Collins," the letter began. "We regret to inform you of the passing of your great-aunt Marguerite Beaumont on January 3rd of this year. As her sole surviving relative, you are the beneficiary of her estate, including a property located in the Bitterroot Mountains of Montana. We request your presence at our offices at your earliest convenience to discuss the details of the inheritance." Emma read it 5 times. Marguerite Beaumont. She had heard that name exactly once in her life. Her grandmother on her deathbed, delirious with fever, had whispered about a sister. A woman who had done something terrible. A woman who had disappeared after the war and was never spoken of again. "Don't look for her," her grandmother had said. "Don't ever look for her. She carries ghosts. They'll follow you too." Emma had been 12 years old. She had never understood what it meant. She had never asked. Now standing in the snow with an eviction notice in one hand and an inheritance letter in the other, she understood one thing clearly. She had nothing left to lose. She called the number on the letterhead. "Morrison and Thatcher. I need to speak with someone about an inheritance. My name is Emma Collins." A pause. Then, "Please hold." 30 seconds later, a man's voice, warm but cautious. Miss Collins, I've been waiting for your call. My name is Thomas Morrison. I was Marguerite's attorney for 23 years. I didn't know I had a great aunt. I'm not surprised. Marguerite was private. Extraordinarily private. What did she leave me? A property, 40 acres in the Bitterroot Mountains, a house, and a maintenance fund of $12,000. Emma's knees buckled. She grabbed the mailbox for support. $12,000. Yes, for property taxes and upkeep, the land itself is fully paid off. No mortgage, no liens. A house, land, $12,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a lifeline. It was hope. There's a condition, Thomas continued. You must visit the property within 30 days to accept or decline. If you decline, everything goes to a historical preservation society. Why would I decline? Thomas was quiet for a moment. The property is extremely remote, and there are complications. Things I can only discuss with you in person. What kind of complications? The kind that require a face-to-face conversation. How soon can you be in Helena? Emma looked at her car, looked at the envelope of severance pay in her pocket, looked at her belly. 2 days, she said. Maybe 3. Drive carefully, Miss Collins. The mountain roads are treacherous this time of year. And Miss Collins, yes, don't tell anyone where you're going. Not until we've had a chance to talk. The line went dead. Emma stood in the snow for a long time, the letter clutched in her hand, her baby kicking inside her. Something was wrong. She could feel it. But wrong was still better than nothing. She went inside and started packing. The drive from Vermont to Montana took 3 days. Emma slept in the car at rest stops, curled awkwardly in the back seat with her coat as a blanket. She ate gas station food, rationed her money, talked to her baby to keep herself awake on the long stretches of empty highway. We're going to be okay, she said, one hand on her belly. I don't know how, but we're going to be okay. The baby kicked in response. On the second day, somewhere in South Dakota, she noticed a black SUV in her rearview mirror. It had been there for the last 100 miles, keeping its distance, never passing, never falling behind. Emma told herself she was being paranoid. Lots of people drove this highway. Lots of people had black SUVs. She pulled off at a gas station. The SUV kept going. See paranoid. She filled up the tank, used the bathroom, bought a sandwich she couldn't taste. When she got back on the highway, the black SUV was there again. Half a mile behind her. Same distance as before. Emma's heart began to pound. She took the next exit without signaling. Pulled into a truck stop. Parked between 2 semis where she couldn't be seen from the road. She waited an hour. When she finally pulled back onto the highway, the SUV was gone. Just paranoid, she told herself. Just stress and exhaustion and pregnancy hormones. But she didn't believe it. Helena, Montana was smaller than she expected. A brick downtown. Mountains visible in every direction. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone and strangers stood out. The law office was in an old building wedged between a coffee shop and a bookstore. Emma parked and sat for a moment, gathering her courage. Whatever happened next would change everything. She went inside. Thomas Morrison met her in the lobby. He was in his 60s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and a handshake that felt genuine. Miss Collins, thank you for making the journey. His eyes dropped to her belly. I didn't realize you were expecting. 7 months. And you drove all the way from Vermont alone. I didn't have a choice. Something flickered across his face. Concern, or maybe fear. Come into my office, we have a lot to discuss. The office smelled like old books and coffee. Thomas gestured to a leather chair and settled behind his desk. Before I say anything else, I need to ask you a question. Have you noticed anything unusual since you received my letter? Anyone following you, any strange phone calls? Emma's blood went cold. There was a car, a black SUV, on the highway. It followed me for about 100 miles. Thomas's expression tightened. Did you get a license plate? No, I pulled off and it disappeared. He was quiet for a moment. Then he opened a drawer and pulled out a file. Miss Collins, what I'm about to tell you cannot leave this room. Do you understand? Yes. Your great-aunt Marguerite came to America in 1948. She was French from Paris. Before the war, she was a young woman with no particular distinction. But during the war, he paused. During the war, she did something extraordinary. What? She saved things. Art, jewelry, documents, treasures that Jewish families entrusted to her for safekeeping when they realized what was coming. She hid them, smuggled them. protected them, while the Nazis murdered the people who had owned them. Emma's breath caught. After the war, she tried to return everything, but most of the families were gone, entire bloodlines erased. She was left with a fortune in stolen art, and no one to give it back to. So she came to America. Yes. She built a house in the mountains far from anyone who might find her, and she spent the next 70 years protecting those treasures. Waiting. Waiting for what? For descendants to emerge. For the rightful owners or their heirs to come forward. She documented everything, kept records, made contacts with Holocaust restitution organizations. But she never revealed the location of her collection to anyone. Thomas slid a photograph across the desk. Emma picked it up and felt her breath stop. The house was like nothing she had ever seen, circular with curved walls that spiraled upward to a crown of glass. It glowed even in the photograph, honey-colored stone catching the light like a flame. She designed it herself, Thomas said. Built it to look like a lantern, a beacon. She said she wanted it to hold light safe in the darkness until the world was ready to see it again. It's beautiful. It's also dangerous. Thomas leaned forward. Miss Collins, there are people who have been searching for this collection for decades. Art dealers, black market collectors, and worse. People who believe Marguerite stole from their families when in fact she saved things from them. What do you mean? Some of the families who owned these pieces weren't Jewish. Some were collaborators, Nazis who acquired art through theft and murder. When the war ended, they claimed Marguerite had stolen from them. They've been hunting her ever since. Emma thought of the black SUV on the highway. Her stomach turned. That's why you told me not to tell anyone where I was going. Yes, Marguerite spent 70 years hiding. She was very careful, but she was also 102 years old when she died. In her final months, I believe she may have been monitored. Her phone, her mail, someone may have learned about you. The people in the SUV? Possibly. Emma looked at the photograph of the lantern house, at the glowing walls, at the crown of glass. What am I supposed to do? Thomas reached into the file and pulled out a set of old brass keys. You have a choice. You can decline the inheritance. Walk away. Let the Preservation Society handle everything. It's the safe option. And the other option, you accept. You go to the house. You see what Marguerite left behind. And you decide what to do with a collection worth $245 million. Emma's heart stopped. How much? $245 million, give or take. That's the estimate based on Marguerite's records. The actual value could be higher. Emma couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process the number. That's not possible. I assure you it is. Your great-aunt protected 34 major pieces, paintings by Monet, Rembrandt, Picasso, a Fabergé egg, ancient artifacts, jewelry that belonged to families who were murdered in the Holocaust. Thomas's voice was quiet, grave. This isn't just an inheritance, Miss Collins. It's a responsibility, a burden that crushed Marguerite for 70 years. If you accept it, you'll be taking on her mission, her enemies, her ghosts. Emma sat in silence for a long time. She thought about Daniel, about the baby, about the eviction notice and the job she'd lost and the $43 that was supposed to carry her through the next 2 months. She thought about the black SUV on the highway, and she thought about her grandmother's words spoken in delirium on her deathbed. She carries ghosts. They'll follow you, too. I want to see the house, Emma said. Thomas nodded slowly. I thought you might say that. He pushed the keys across the desk. The property is 47 miles northwest of here, private road off Highway 12. The weather is unpredictable and the road isn't well maintained. I'd recommend going tomorrow morning in daylight. I'll go now. Miss Collins, if someone is following me, waiting won't make them go away. The longer I stay in town, the more time they have to find me. Thomas studied her face. Whatever he saw there made him nod again. All right, I'll draw you a map. But Miss Collins, please be careful. If anything feels wrong, leave immediately. Don't try to be brave. Just leave. Emma took the keys. They were heavier than they should have been. One more thing, Thomas said. Marguerite left you a message. She made me memorize it. He closed his eyes and recited, Trust the house. It will show you its secrets when you are ready, but trust no one else. Not even me. In the end, you can only trust yourself. The drive into the mountains took 2 hours. The turnoff from Highway 12 was marked by a weathered wooden sign. Private road. No trespassing. Emma's stomach clenched as she turned onto it. The road was barely visible under fresh snow. Just 2 tire ruts disappearing into a tunnel of pine trees. Her car's engine whined as it climbed. Halfway up, the engine sputtered. Emma's heart lurched. She pumped the gas. The engine coughed, caught again. "Come on," she whispered. "Don't do this to me." The car kept climbing. Barely. The temperature gauge crept toward red. 8 miles? 9. 10. The engine died. Emma sat in the sudden silence, her breath fogging in the cold air. The car had stopped on a narrow stretch of road with no shoulder, no turnout, nowhere to go. She tried the ignition. Nothing. Tried again. Nothing. No, 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 no. She got out of the car and looked around. Nothing but trees and snow and silence. The house was 2 miles ahead. She could see the road curving upward through the forest. 2 miles. In the snow. 7 months pregnant. With no cell signal and no one who knew where she was. Emma zipped her coat, grabbed her purse, and started walking. The cold bit through her clothes within minutes. Her feet went numb first, then her fingers, then her face. The baby kicked and twisted, uncomfortable with the jostling. "I know," Emma gasped. "I know, just a little further." 1 mile. Her back ached. Her ankles swelled inside her boots. Every breath felt like fire. 1/2 mile. She fell, went down hard on her hands and knees in the snow. For a moment she couldn't get up, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but kneel there in the cold and wonder if this was how she would die. Then the baby kicked, hard, demanding. Emma pushed herself up, kept walking, and then the trees opened. The house rose from the snow like something from a dream. The photograph hadn't done it justice. The curved walls seemed to breathe in the gray light. Windows spiraled upward toward the crown of glass at the peak. Even without sunshine, the whole structure glowed. It was the most beautiful thing Emma had ever seen. She stumbled toward the front door, fumbling with frozen fingers for the keys. 3 tries before she got the right one. The lock turned with a satisfying click. The door swung open. Warmth rushed out to meet her. The house wasn't heated exactly, but it wasn't frozen either. Something about the design trapped warmth even in the dead of winter. Emma stepped inside and gasped. The circular foyer took her breath away. Black and white marble tiles in geometric patterns. A spiral staircase curving along the walls. And light, so much light even on a gray afternoon, streaming through the windows that wrapped around the building. She was standing inside a giant lantern. In the center of the foyer, on a round marble table, sat a brass lantern. Old-fashioned. Ornate. A note was tucked beneath it. Emma approached slowly, her footsteps echoing in the silence. "Welcome, Emma. I am sorry we never met. You have found my house, which means you have found my burden. I am sorry for that, too. There is much I need to tell you. Much I have hidden. Much that I protected for 70 years because I made promises to people who could not keep them for themselves. Trust the house. It will show you everything when you are ready. But be careful. There are those who would kill for what I have protected. They have been hunting me for decades. Now they will hunt you. I have left you clues. Follow them. Trust your instincts, and whatever you decide to do with what you find, know that I believe in you. You are my only hope. Marguerite?" Emma set down the note and looked around. The house was silent, waiting. She explored the first floor. A kitchen with old but functional appliances. A sitting room with furniture covered in white sheets. A library with curved built-in shelves filled with books in French, German, English. Everything was clean, maintained, as if someone had been caring for the house until very recently. But there was something else. Something she couldn't quite identify, a feeling of presence. As if the house itself was watching her, waiting to see what she would do. She climbed to the second floor. 5 bedrooms, each one unique. One painted deep blue with silver stars, another all white, a third with a window seat overlooking the forest. And then she found the nursery. Emma stopped in the doorway, her hand flying to her mouth. A crib, a rocking chair, soft blankets in pale yellow, a mobile of silver stars hanging from the ceiling. Marguerite had known. Somehow she had known. Emma walked into the room slowly as if approaching sacred ground. She touched the crib, ran her fingers over the blankets. A small envelope was tucked beneath the pillow. "For my great-niece's child. May you grow up in light, not shadow. May you know peace, not fear. May you carry hope, not ghosts. Welcome to your home." Marguerite Emma sank into the rocking chair and cried. She cried for Daniel, who would never see this, for the baby who would never know her father, for Marguerite, who had spent 70 years alone protecting things she could never enjoy, waiting for someone who might never come. And she cried for herself, for the scared, broke pregnant widow who had somehow stumbled into something so much bigger than she could comprehend. When the tears finally stopped, Emma went to the 3rd floor. The staircase ended at a landing with only one door. Heavy, metal, an ornate lock she didn't recognize. She tried every key. None of them fit. Emma pressed her palm against the door. Cold, much colder than the rest of the house. She stepped back and looked at the walls around her. Something was wrong. The curve was different here. More pronounced. Uneven. She remembered Marguerite's note. Trust the house. It will show you everything when you are ready. Emma ran her hands along the wall. Pressed gently. Searching for anything unusual. Near the corner she found it. A seam, almost invisible. She pushed. The wall rotated silently, revealing a narrow passage spiraling upward. Emma's heart pounded. She grabbed her phone, turned on the flashlight, and climbed. 20 steps. 30. The passage was steep, barely wide enough for her pregnant belly. And then it opened. Emma emerged into a small round room at the very top of the house. The glass crown. Sunlight streamed through the panels, real sunlight breaking through the clouds, illuminating everything. A wooden desk, a single chair, and on the desk, 3 items, a leather-bound journal, a wooden box, and a metal cylinder. Emma approached slowly, her breath coming fast. She opened the journal first. Marguerite's handwriting filled the pages. Dense, urgent, the words of a woman who knew she was running out of time. To whoever finds this, I pray it is family. I pray you will understand why I did what I did. I was 17 years old when the Germans invaded France. By 1942, I was working for the resistance, carrying messages, forging papers, doing whatever was needed. But my most important work was something else. The families knew what was coming. The Goldsteins, the Rosenbergs, the Levines, the Cohens. They could see the trains, the roundups, the disappearances. They knew they were going to die. They came to me because I could move freely, because I was young and French and forgettable, because I promised I would keep their treasures safe until they could come back for them. I took paintings from apartments in the Marais. I carried jewelry sewn into coat linings. I hid documents in false-bottomed suitcases, and I memorized every name, every face, every promise I made. After the war, I tried to find them. I went to their addresses. I searched through Red Cross lists. I placed advertisements in newspapers across Europe. But most of them were gone. Entire families. Children. Grandparents. Babies. All gone. I was left with their treasures and no one to return them to. Emma turned the page, her hands shaking. I came to America in 1948. I built this house in the mountains far from anyone who might find me. And I waited. For 70 years I waited. Some families were found. Some pieces were returned. I have documented every contact, every return, every attempt. But most remain, hidden in the walls of this house, waiting for owners who will never come. I am 102 years old now. I have no more time. Emma, if you are reading this, I am trusting you with everything, not just the treasures, but the promises, the memories, the ghosts of families who trusted a stranger with everything they loved. Please, finish what I could not. Emma set down the journal and looked at the wooden box. She lifted the lid with trembling fingers. Inside, wrapped in cloth, was a small drawing. She lifted it carefully. Bold, swirling lines. A wheat field, golden and alive. Signed in the corner with 2 letters, VG, Vincent van Gogh. Emma's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the chair, the drawing still in her hands. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. She opened the metal cylinder next. Inside was a rolled piece of parchment. She spread it on the desk. A list, handwritten in Marguerite's careful script. Monet Water Lily Study 1914. Hidden north wall, 2nd floor, room 4. Rembrandt sketch circa 1640. Hidden east wall. 3rd floor passage. Fabergé egg 1908. Base of primary column, main foyer. Picasso early cubist period 1909. White bedroom beneath window seat. The list went on. 2 full pages. 34 items. Each one with a location. Each one hidden somewhere in the house. At the bottom, Marguerite had written total estimated value as of 2024, $245 million. These do not belong to me. They belong to the dead and to history. Return what can be returned. Preserve what must be preserved. And be careful. There is one piece I never documented. One treasure so dangerous I could not risk anyone finding it. It is hidden where only family would think to look. If you find it, you will understand why I spent 70 years in hiding. It has already killed 2 people. Do not let it kill you. Emma stared at the words until they blurred. One piece undocumented, Something so valuable, so dangerous that Marguerite couldn't even write it down. Something that had already killed 2 people. What had she inherited? The sound came from below. A door opening. Footsteps in the foyer. Emma's blood turned to ice. She looked around frantically. No other exit. Only the spiral passage she had climbed. She pressed herself against the wall beside the opening and listened. 2 voices. Men, speaking quietly. "The car's broken down 2 miles back. She must be here. Check every room. Victor wants everything documented before we move it." Victor, a name. They had a name. Emma held her breath as footsteps climbed the main staircase. The men were on the 2nd floor now, opening doors, moving through the rooms she had just explored. She had to get out. But how? Her eyes fell on the desk, on the journal and the list and the Van Gogh drawing. She couldn't leave them. Couldn't let these men take what Marguerite had spent 70 years protecting. Emma grabbed the journal and stuffed it inside her coat, grabbed the list and folded it into her pocket. The drawing she wrapped carefully and tucked against her belly, hidden by her loose sweater. "Found something up here," one of the men called. "Hidden panel. Paintings?" "Get pictures. Victor's flying in tomorrow. He'll want to see everything." Emma crept to the spiral passage and started down. Every step felt like thunder. Every breath like a scream. She reached the 3rd floor landing. The rotating wall was still open. The men were on the 2nd floor, their voices echoing through the curved walls. She had to get past them. Had to get to the front door. Emma moved as quietly as she could. Down the spiral staircase. Through the foyer. Her hand was on the front door handle when a voice came from behind her. "Stop right there." She turned. A man stood at the bottom of the staircase. Tall, thin, sharp features and cold eyes. He held a gun pointed directly at her belly. "You must be Emma," he said. "My name is Anton. I work for a man who's been looking for your great-aunt for a very long time." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't waste my time." He gestured with the gun. "Hands where I can see them. Move away from the door." Emma raised her hands slowly. The journal pressed against her ribs, the drawing against her belly. "That's better." Anton studied her with clinical interest. "You're pregnant. That's inconvenient. Victor doesn't like complications." "Who's Victor?" "The man who owns this house now, or will once we've resolved the paperwork." He smiled. "Your great-aunt stole from his family during the war. Art or jewelry. A very particular item that Victor's grandfather valued above everything else. We've been searching for it for 60 years. She didn't steal anything. She saved things, protected them. That's a matter of perspective." Anton's smile widened. To the Resnick family, she was a thief. A clever one, certainly, but a thief nonetheless. Resnick? The name hit Emma like a punch. She knew that name. Everyone who had studied Holocaust history knew that name. The Resnicks had been Nazi collaborators, war profiteers. They had built their fortune on art stolen from murdered families, then claimed it as legitimately acquired when the war ended. And now they wanted what Marguerite had protected. "I'm not giving you anything," Emma said. "You don't have a choice." Anton raised the gun higher. "My partner is documenting the collection now. Once we have everything cataloged, we'll remove it piece by piece. You can either cooperate and walk away with a generous settlement, or you can resist and..." He glanced at her belly. "Well, Victor isn't known for his patience." Heavy footsteps on the staircase. The 2nd man appeared, younger, broader, holding a camera. "Found 12 hidden panels so far," he reported. "Monet, Rembrandt, Picasso. It's all here, Anton. Everything the old woman documented and more." "Excellent." Anton kept his eyes on Emma. "Search her." The 2nd man approached. Emma backed away, her arms instinctively wrapping around her belly. "Please, I'm pregnant. Don't..." "Hold still." His hands were rough, professional. He found the journal first, pulled it from inside her coat. "What's this?" Anton took it, flipped through the pages. His eyes widened. "This is her documentation, her records." He looked at Emma with new respect. "You were trying to steal it. Smart." "I wasn't stealing. It's my inheritance." "Not anymore?" Anton tucked the journal inside his own coat. "What else?" The 2nd man found the list in her pocket. Then his hands moved to her belly, and Emma's whole body went rigid. "There's something here." "No, please." He lifted her sweater, found the Van Gogh drawing pressed against her skin. "Well, well." Anton took it carefully, unwrapped it, and his breath caught. "This is it. This is the original." He looked at Emma with something like wonder. "Do you have any idea what this is worth?" "It belongs to the Goldstein family. They trusted it to my great-aunt in 1942. The Goldsteins are dead, and finders keepers, as they say. Anton handed the drawing to his partner. Put it with the others, and bring the car around. We have a lot of work to do. What about her? Anton studied Emma thoughtfully. Victor will want to question her himself. The old woman mentioned something in her journal, a piece she never documented, the most valuable item in the entire collection. His eyes bored into Emma's. Do you know where it is? I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. He raised the gun again. And I think you will tell us, eventually. The next hour was the worst of Emma's life. They tied her to a chair in the sitting room, questioned her about the house, about Marguerite's secrets, about the mysterious, undocumented treasure. Emma told them nothing. She didn't know anything to tell, but that didn't stop them from asking. Anton was the strategist. Cold, calculated, he asked questions in a soft voice and watched her reactions with clinical precision. The second man she learned his name was Pavel was cruder. He wanted to hurt her, to break her. Anton held them back, but Emma could see the violence simmering beneath the surface. Victor arrives tomorrow, Anton said finally. He'll be less patient than I am. I suggest you remember something useful before then. They left her alone while they continued documenting the collection. Emma could hear them moving through the house, finding more hidden panels, exclaiming over each new discovery. She tested her bonds. Tight, professional, but her wrists were smaller than they had been 6 months ago, and pregnancy had made her joints looser. She worked at the ropes until her skin was raw, until blood slicked her wrists. Finally, one hand slipped free. She untied the other hand. Her feet stood slowly, every muscle aching. The men were on the second floor. She could hear their voices. The front door was too risky. They would hear it open. But there was another way out. Emma remembered the library on the first floor. One of the windows had been cracked, letting in cold air. She could fit through it. Probably. She crept through the sitting room, through the foyer, into the library. Found the cracked window. It was small. Smaller than she remembered. She pushed it open as quietly as she could. Frigid air rushed in. She heard footsteps on the staircase. No time to think. Emma squeezed through the window, her pregnant belly scraping against the frame, her coat catching on the latch. She fell into the snow, rolled, scrambled to her feet. Behind her she heard shouting. She ran. The forest swallowed her within seconds. Trees everywhere, snow up to her knees. She couldn't see the road, couldn't see anything but endless white. Headlights swept through the trees behind her. They had the car. They were coming. Emma changed direction, moving away from the road, deeper into the forest. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. The baby kicked frantically, sensing her terror. She fell. Got up. Fell again. The headlights were getting closer. Emma pushed herself up one more time and saw at a fallen tree, massive trunk creating a hollow space underneath. She crawled into the gap, pressed herself against the frozen ground, pulled snow over herself until she was invisible. Footsteps. Flashlight beams cutting through the trees. She can't have gone far. She's pregnant. Find her. Victor will have our heads if we lose her. The footsteps came closer, stopped. Emma held her breath. The flashlight swept over the fallen tree, over the snow covering her body. Nothing here, check the ridge. The footsteps moved away. Emma lay in the snow for what felt like hours, shivering, freezing, feeling her baby grow still inside her. When she finally crawled out, the forest was silent. The men were gone. She didn't know how long she walked. Hours, maybe. The cold had moved past pain into something else, something dreamy and dangerous. She thought about Daniel, about their wedding day, about the nursery they had painted together before the accident. She thought about Marguerite spending 70 years alone in these mountains protecting treasures that weren't hers. She thought about the baby who deserved better than a mother who died in the snow. And she kept walking. Lights. She saw lights through the trees, a cabin, smoke rising from a chimney. Emma stumbled toward it, fell against the door, and pounded with frozen fist. Help, please, help me. The door opened. A man's face weathered and suspicious. Please, Emma gasped. I'm pregnant. I need help. She collapsed into the warmth. When she woke, she was wrapped in blankets by a wood stove. An old woman was pressing a cup of hot liquid into her hands. Drink, it's broth. You need to warm up from the inside. Emma drank. The heat spread through her body like salvation. My name is Ruth, the old woman said. That's my husband, George. He found you half dead on our doorstep 3 hours ago. 3 hours? You've been unconscious. George wanted to call an ambulance, but the phone lines are down from the storm. We've been keeping you warm, watching you." Emma looked around. A simple cabin, rough wooden walls, a crucifix over the door. "My baby!" "Still moving, I checked." Ruth smiled gently. "You're both tough, it seems." Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks. "Thank you, thank you." "Don't thank us yet. There were men on the road earlier, in a black SUV. They stopped and asked if we'd seen a pregnant woman." Emma's blood went cold. "What did you tell them?" "That we'd been inside all day, hadn't seen anyone." Ruth's eyes hardened. "They didn't look like good men, and good men don't hunt pregnant women through the snow." Emma set down the cup. Her hands were shaking. "I need to make a phone call. Can you drive me to town?" "In this storm, not likely, but we've got a satellite phone for emergencies." Ruth stood. "Seems like this qualifies." Emma called the only number she had memorized. Thomas Morrison answered on the second ring. "Hello." "It's Emma Collins. I need help." She told him everything. The men, the questions, the escape, the collection they were documenting. Thomas was silent for a long moment. "Are you safe now?" "For the moment, but they're still out there, and someone named Victor is coming tomorrow?" "Victor Resnick." Thomas's voice was grim. "I was afraid of this. The Resnick family has been searching for Marguerite's collection for decades. They claim she stole art that belonged to them. They were Nazi collaborators. They stole it first." "Yes, but that's not how they see it. And Victor Resnick has resources, connections. He's been linked to art theft operations across Europe. Never enough evidence to prosecute, but everyone in the industry knows." "What do I do?" "You need to get out of there, away from the house, away from Montana." "I can't just leave. There's a fortune in that house, pieces that belong to families who were murdered." "Emma, listen to me. The collection doesn't matter if you're dead. Get somewhere safe. We'll figure out the rest later." Emma closed her eyes. She thought about the names written on the backs of those paintings. Goldstein, Rosenberg, Levine. She thought about Marguerite's journal now in Anton's possession. All those records, all that documentation, and she thought about the undocumented piece. The treasure so valuable that Marguerite couldn't risk writing it down. If Victor Resnick found it, he would sell it to the highest bidder. Another piece of murdered family's heritage lost forever. "There's something else," Emma said. "Something Marguerite hid that she never documented. Something dangerous. She said it killed 2 people. "What is it?" "I don't know, but I think I need to find it before they do." Thomas was quiet. "Emma, I understand the impulse, but this isn't worth your life." "It might be worth my life. It might be worth everything. Marguerite spent 70 years protecting these things. She chose me for a reason. I can't just walk away." Another silence. "Then, there's someone who might be able to help. An organization that handles Holocaust art recovery. They have resources, expertise. If anyone can protect both you and the collection, they can." "Who?" "Let me make some calls. Stay where you are. Stay safe. And Emma." "Yes. Don't go back to that house alone. Promise me." Emma looked out the window at the snow falling in the darkness, at the mountains that held Marguerite's secrets, at the future that had seemed so hopeless 3 days ago and now felt dangerous in ways she couldn't comprehend. "I promise," she said. But even as she said it, she knew she was lying. The house was calling her back, and before this was over, she would answer. Emma woke at 4:17 in the morning to the sound of a helicopter. The cabin shook as it passed overhead, searchlights cutting through the darkness. Ruth was already at the window, her face pale in the reflected glow. "They're looking for you," she said. Emma pushed herself upright, every muscle screaming. Her ankle had swollen to twice its normal size during the night. Her wrists were raw and bleeding where the ropes had torn her skin. "I have to go." "You can barely walk." "If they find me here, they'll hurt you too." George appeared in the doorway, fully dressed, car keys in his hand. "There's a back road through the valley. Comes out on Highway 93 about 20 miles south. I can have you there before dawn." "George, no." Ruth grabbed his arm. "If they catch you." "They won't." He looked at Emma with steady eyes. "My father hid refugees in Poland during the war, helped them escape the Nazis. I never understood why until now." He jingled the keys. "Some debts carry through generations. Let's go." They drove without headlights for the first 5 miles, George navigating by moonlight and memory. Emma lay in the back seat, covered by blankets, her hand pressed against her belly, where the baby had finally started moving again. "There's a bus station in Missoula," George said. "Greyhound. Run south to Salt Lake City, then east to Denver. From there, you can go anywhere." "I can't run forever." You don't have to run forever, just long enough to find people who can help. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. That lawyer you called, he seemed like he knew what he was talking about. Emma thought about Thomas Morrison, about his warning, about the organization he had mentioned. She also thought about the house, about the collection still hidden in its walls, about Victor Resnick arriving today to claim what Marguerite had protected for 70 years. I need a phone, she said. George handed her his cell. Signal's spotty out here, but try. She dialed Thomas's number. It rang 6 times before he answered, his voice thick with sleep. Hello. It's Emma. I'm heading to Missoula. Can you meet me there? Emma, thank God, I've been trying to reach you all night. Where are you? About an hour out. A couple found me in the mountains. They're driving me to the bus station. Don't go to the bus station. They'll be watching. Resnick has people everywhere. Thomas paused. There's a diner on the south side of town. Mel's. I'll meet you there in 2 hours. Thomas, what's happening? I'll explain when I see you. Just get to Mel's. And Emma, don't trust anyone until I get there. Not anyone. The line went dead. George dropped her at Mel's diner at 6:43 in the morning. The sky was just beginning to lighten and the parking lot was nearly empty. Thank you, Emma said, for everything. Don't thank me, just survive. George pressed a roll of bills into her hand. $200? It's not much, but it's what we had. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I can't take this. You can, you will. He squeezed her hand. Now go, and may God watch over you and that baby. She watched him drive away, then limped into the diner. The place was warm and smelled like coffee and bacon. A waitress with tired eyes pointed her toward a booth in the back, and Emma slid in gratefully, her ankle throbbing. She ordered coffee and toast she couldn't afford and watched the door. An hour passed, then another. Thomas didn't come. At 9:15, Emma's coffee had gone cold and her nerves had gone raw. She asked the waitress if she could use the phone. Payphone's in the back, honey. Emma dialed Thomas's number. No answer. She dialed his office. A recorded message informed her that Morrison and Thatcher was closed for the weekend. Her hands were shaking as she hung up. Something was wrong. She returned to her booth and found a man sitting across from her. He was in his 40s with silver-streaked hair and a face that might have been handsome once but had been hardened by something. He wore an expensive coat and held a cup of coffee like he owned the place. Miss Collins, he said. Please, sit down. Emma's blood turned to ice. Who are you, Who are you? My name is Victor Resnick, and we need to talk. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her ankle wouldn't carry her, and there was nowhere to go. She slid into the booth, her heart pounding. Victor smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. I apologize for the unpleasantness at the house. Anton can be overzealous. I've spoken to him about it. Where's Thomas Morrison? The lawyer. Victor sipped his coffee. Mr. Morrison is currently rethinking his loyalties. He'll be released once our business is concluded. If you hurt him... I haven't hurt anyone, yet. Victor set down his cup. Miss Collins, I'm a businessman. I prefer negotiation to violence. So let me explain our situation clearly. He leaned forward. Your great-aunt stole property from my family during the war. Art jewelry and one particular item that my grandfather valued above all else. We have spent 60 years trying to recover what was taken. Now, thanks to your convenient inheritance, we finally know where it is. She didn't steal anything. She saved things from families your grandfather murdered. Victor's expression didn't change. That's a matter of historical interpretation. What matters now is this: I am going to take possession of that collection. Every piece. Including the item your great-aunt never documented. The only question is whether you cooperate and walk away with something, or resist and walk away with nothing. What makes you think I know where the undocumented piece is? Because Marguerite was clever. She would have hidden her most valuable treasure somewhere only family could find it. And you are her only family. Emma's mind raced. The nursery, the note Marguerite had left for the baby, the mobile of silver stars, where only family would think to look. She kept her face blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Victor studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled a phone from his pocket and set it on the table between them. This was Mr. Morrison's phone. Before we convinced him to share it with us, he received a call from someone very interesting. Victor pressed play. Thomas's voice filled the booth. Dr. Hoffman, thank you for calling back. I have a situation that requires your immediate attention, a major Holocaust art recovery, possibly the largest in decades. But there are complications, dangerous ones. A woman's voice responded, "Tell me everything." A young woman named Emma Collins has inherited a collection hidden since World War II, but the Resnick family is involved. Victor Resnick. They've already attempted to seize the property by force. Victor Resnick? The woman's voice hardened. We've been tracking him for years. He's responsible for dozens of black market art transactions. If he gets his hands on this collection, he won't, but I need your help. The woman is pregnant, alone, and running for her life. She needs protection, and the collection needs to be secured before Resnick can move it. Where is she now? I'm meeting her this morning, Mel's Diner in Missoula. If you can have people there by... Victor stopped the recording. As you can see, Mr. Morrison was quite busy on your behalf. Unfortunately for both of you, Dr. Hoffman's people won't be arriving. We intercepted them at the airport. Emma felt the last of her hope drain away. What do you want from me? I told you, the undocumented piece, Marguerite's crown jewel. Victor leaned closer. My grandfather spoke of it until the day he died, a treasure so valuable it drove men mad. He claimed Marguerite stole it from his personal collection in 1944. He spent 40 years trying to find her, and now after all this time, I'm going to finish what he started. I don't know what it is. Then we'll find it together. Victor stood. Come with me, Miss Collins. We're going back to the house. And if I refuse, Victor's smile faded. Then I'll have Anton visit Mr. Morrison again, and this time I won't ask him to be gentle. They drove to the house in Victor's black Mercedes, Anton at the wheel, Emma in the back seat with Victor beside her. 2 more SUVs followed behind, filled with men she didn't recognize. An army. Victor had brought an army to claim Marguerite's secrets. You're wondering why I don't simply kill you, Victor said as they climbed the mountain road. It would be simpler, certainly, but I've learned that violence creates complications, investigations, attention. It's much cleaner to resolve matters through persuasion. Is that what you call kidnapping persuasion? I call it mutual benefit. You have information I need. I have resources you need. There's no reason this can't end well for both of us. Emma watched the trees blur past the window. What happened to the 2 people Marguerite said the crown jewel killed? Victor's expression flickered. Surprise quickly hidden. Where did you hear that was... Her journal. She said it already killed 2 people, that it would kill again if it fell into the wrong hands. Victor was quiet for a moment. My grandfather spoke of that as well. He said the treasure carried a curse, that everyone who possessed it met a violent end. He smiled thinly. Superstition, of course. My grandfather was a practical man, but he had his weaknesses. What is it? What's so valuable that people die for it? That Miss Collins is what we're going to find out. They reached the house at 11:23 in the morning. The lantern shape rose from the snow like a beacon just as Marguerite had intended. Emma's heart ached at the sight of it. 3 days ago, this house had seemed like salvation. Now it felt like a prison. Victor's men swarmed the property, carrying equipment, setting up generators, documenting everything with professional efficiency. This wasn't a smash-and-grab operation. This was systematic, methodical, the work of people who had done this many times before. Your great-aunt was remarkably thorough, Victor said as he escorted Emma inside. My team has identified 27 hidden compartments so far. The collection is even more extensive than we anticipated. Emma saw paintings stacked against the walls, jewelry spread across the marble table in the foyer, ancient artifacts laid out like museum exhibits. Everything Marguerite had protected for 70 years exposed and cataloged for theft. Now, Victor turned to face her. The undocumented piece. Where would Marguerite have hidden something she wanted only family to find? Emma's mind went to the nursery, to the note tucked under the pillow, for my great-niece's child, where only family would think to look. I need to see something, she said. Victor gestured for her to lead the way. She climbed to the 2nd floor, her injured ankle screaming with every step. Victor followed close behind Anton, bringing up the rear. The nursery door was open. Someone had already searched it, the blankets pulled from the crib, the drawers emptied onto the floor. Emma walked to the center of the room and looked up. The mobile of silver stars hung from the ceiling, turning slowly in the draft from the door. Stars. Marguerite had loved stars. The blue room had silver stars painted on the ceiling. The note had said, "May you grow up in light." And there at the very top of the mobile, hidden among the dangling shapes, was something that didn't belong. A key. Emma reached up and pulled it free. Well done, Victor breathed. Where does it go? Emma stared at the key in her palm. Small, old, ornate. She remembered the metal door on the 3rd floor, the one that none of Marguerite's other keys had opened. Follow me. They climbed to the third floor. Emma limped to the heavy metal door and inserted the key. It turned with a click. The door swung open. Beyond it was a room Emma hadn't seen before, smaller than the others with walls lined in deep red velvet. No windows, no other doors. And in the center, on a pedestal lit by a single overhead light, sat a painting. Emma heard Victor inhale sharply. The painting was small, perhaps 12 inches by 16. It showed a woman young and beautiful with dark hair and a mysterious smile. The background was shadowy, indistinct. The technique was masterful, but it was the style that made Emma's heart stop. She knew that style. Everyone knew that style. "The lost Leonardo," Victor whispered. "My God, it actually exists." Emma couldn't speak. A Leonardo da Vinci, an unknown, undocumented Leonardo da Vinci, hidden in the mountains of Montana for 70 years. "My grandfather always said Marguerite took something priceless," Victor continued, his voice trembling. "Something that would change the world if it were ever revealed. I thought he was exaggerating." He stepped closer to the painting, his eyes wide with hunger. "Do you have any idea what this is worth?" Emma found her voice. "It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to whoever possesses it, and that will be me." He reached for the painting. The moment his fingers touched the frame, alarms exploded throughout the house. Victor jumped back. Anton drew his gun. Men came running from every direction. "What the hell?" Victor shouted. Emma's mind raced. The alarms. Marguerite must have installed a security system. Something triggered by movement in this room. And if there were alarms, there might be something else. She ran, down the stairs, past startled guards, through the foyer toward the front door. Her ankle screamed, but she didn't care. Behind her, she heard shouting footsteps, Victor's voice commanding his men to stop her. She burst through the front door and into the snow. Helicopters. She could hear helicopters again, but these weren't Victor's helicopters. 3 black aircraft were descending toward the clearing. Armed men visible through the open doors. They wore tactical gear with bright yellow letters on their vests. FBI. Emma fell to her knees in the snow as agents swarmed the property. FBI, everyone on the ground. Now, Victor's men scattered. Some ran for the trees, some dropped their weapons and raised their hands. Anton tried to draw his gun and was tackled by 2 agents before he could fire. Victor himself stood frozen in the doorway of the lantern house, watching his empire crumble. An agent approached Emma and knelt beside her. "Emma Collins." She nodded, too exhausted to speak. "I'm Agent Rachel Chen. We've been tracking Victor Resnick for 5 years. When we intercepted his communications this morning, we knew we had to move fast." "Thomas Morrison. He called someone, a Dr. Hoffman." "Dr. Hoffman contacted us immediately. We've had a team en route since 6 this morning." Agent Chen helped Emma to her feet. "You're safe now. It's over." But Emma was looking at the house, at the lantern shape rising against the gray sky. The collection, the paintings. Victor's men have been documenting everything. "We'll secure it all. Nothing leaves that house without our authorization." "And Victor?" Agent Chen's expression hardened. "Victor Resnick is under arrest for art trafficking, kidnapping, and about 17 other federal charges. He won't be hurting anyone else." 2 agents were leading Victor toward a helicopter, his hands cuffed behind his back. As he passed Emma, he stopped. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "My family has waited 60 years. We'll wait 60 more if we have to. Keep moving." Effuit. An agent shoved him forward. Victor stumbled but kept his eyes on Emma. "The painting carries a curse, Miss Collins. Everyone who possesses it dies badly. My grandfather, the men who tried to steal it from him, and now perhaps you." I said move. They dragged him away. Emma watched until he disappeared into the helicopter, until the aircraft lifted off and carried him away. Then she turned back to the house. The lost Leonardo, hidden in the mountains for 70 years, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe more, and according to Victor, carrying a curse that killed everyone who possessed it. Marguerite's words echoed in her mind. It has already killed 2 people. Do not let it kill you. What had her great-aunt been protecting, and what had Emma just unleashed? The next 12 hours were chaos. FBI agents swarmed the lantern house, documenting every hidden compartment, cataloging every piece. Dr. Rachel Hoffman arrived by helicopter at 3:47 in the afternoon, a formidable woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. "Miss Collins." She shook Emma's hand firmly. "I've been working in Holocaust art recovery for 35 years. I've never seen anything like this. Neither had my great-aunt, until she built this house to protect it." Dr. Hoffman looked at the lantern walls, at the spiral windows, at the crown of glass high above. Remarkable woman, to carry this burden alone for so long. She didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. She chose to protect instead of profit. That's rare. Dr. Hoffman turned back to Emma. The collection is extraordinary. We've identified pieces that have been missing since 1942, families that never stopped searching. This will take months, maybe years, to sort through properly. And the Leonardo, Dr. Hoffman's expression shifted. Careful, guarded. That's complicated. If it's authentic, it's the most significant art discovery in a century. But there are questions. Provenience. Chain of custody. How Marguerite obtained it. She didn't steal it? I didn't say she did, but others will. The Italian government will claim it as cultural property. The Resnick family will claim it as rightful inheritance. Museums will fight over it. Lawyers will get rich arguing about it. Dr. Hoffman sighed. Your great-aunt may have been trying to protect you from all of this. Some treasures are more trouble than they're worth. Emma thought about the curse Victor had mentioned, about the two people who had already died. Do you know anything about the painting's history before Marguerite? Only rumors, stories that have circulated in art recovery circles for decades. Dr. Hoffman lowered her voice. They say it was discovered in 1923 by an Italian collector. He died within a year. Heart attack. The painting passed to his son, who died in a car accident 3 months later. It changed hands several times during the 1930s. Each owner met a violent end. That's why Victor's grandfather wanted it. He collected cursed objects. Heinrich Resnick collected anything valuable. He was a monster who built his fortune on stolen art and murdered families. If the painting truly carries a curse, he deserved everything he got. Dr. Hoffman straightened. But curses aren't real, Miss Collins. Coincidence is, and dangerous men making dangerous enemies is the most common coincidence of all. Emma wanted to believe her, but as she looked at the lantern house at the room where the Leonardo waited, she felt something she couldn't explain. A chill that had nothing to do with the cold. Thomas Morrison was released at 6:12 that evening. He arrived at the house looking pale and shaken, a bruise darkening his jaw. Emma, thank God. He embraced her, carefully mindful of her pregnant belly. I'm so sorry. I tried to warn you, but they caught me before I could. It's not your fault. You did everything you could. Thomas looked at the FBI agents at Dr. Hoffman at the controlled chaos surrounding them. I never imagined it would go this far. Marguerite always said there were people looking for her, but I thought she was paranoid. An old woman with too many secrets and too much time alone. She wasn't paranoid. She was right. Yes, she was. Thomas ran a hand over his face. What happens now? Now, Emma looked at the house. Now we do what Marguerite asked. We return what can be returned. We preserve what must be preserved. And the Leonardo? Emma didn't answer. That night, after the FBI had established a perimeter and Dr. Hoffman had retired to a hotel, Emma walked through the lantern house alone. The hidden compartments stood empty, now their treasures photographed and cataloged and locked away for safekeeping. The curved walls that had held secrets for 70 years were just walls now. The house that had been a vault was becoming something else. A home, maybe. She climbed to the 3rd floor, to the red velvet room where the Leonardo still waited. The FBI had sealed the door, but Emma had kept the key from the mobile. It still fit the lock. She stepped inside. The painting seemed to glow in the dim light. The woman's eyes followed her, mysterious and knowing. Emma sat down on the floor and looked at it. Who were you? She whispered. What did Marguerite see in you that was worth dying for? The painting didn't answer. But the baby kicked, and Emma realized something she hadn't understood before. Marguerite hadn't hidden the Leonardo because it was valuable. She had hidden it because it was dangerous. Because men like Victor Resnick and his grandfather would kill to possess it. Because as long as it remained secret, no one else would die for it. But now the secret was out, and Emma had to decide what to do with a treasure that had already claimed 2 lives. She heard footsteps in the hallway. Agent Chen appeared in the doorway. Miss Collins, you shouldn't be in here. I know. The painting needs to be secured, transported to a proper facility for authentication. I know that too. Emma pushed herself to her feet. Her ankle had gone numb hours ago. Her whole body felt like it belonged to someone else. Agent Chen, what happens to something like this after all the legal battles and authentication processes? Usually it ends up in a museum, or a private collection, or locked away in some government vault where no one ever sees it again. That's not what Marguerite wanted. With respect, Miss Collins. What your great-aunt wanted doesn't matter anymore. This painting is evidence in a federal investigation. It's part of a larger collection tied to Holocaust restitution claims. There are protocols. Emma looked at the Leonardo one last time. The woman in the painting seemed to be smiling at her. A sad smile. A knowing smile. The smile of someone who had seen this before. Protocols, Emma repeated. Of course. She walked out of the room. But something had shifted inside her. Something that felt like resolve. Marguerite had spent 70 years protecting this collection. Emma would spend however long it took making sure her sacrifice meant something. At 11:47 that night, Emma sat alone in the nursery that Marguerite had prepared for her baby. The FBI had given her permission to stay in the house under their supervision. She was too exhausted to go anywhere else, and the baby was making her presence known with sharp, insistent kicks. I know, Emma murmured, her hand on her belly. It's been a long day. A long 3 days. A long 6 months. A long lifetime crammed into 72 hours. She thought about everything that had happened. The letter, the house, the collection, Victor Resnick, the FBI, the Leonardo. She thought about the 2 people who had died because of that painting, about the curse Victor believed in, and she thought about Marguerite spending 70 years in these mountains alone with her secrets waiting for someone who might never come. I found it, Emma said to the empty room. I found everything you hid, and I'm not going to let them take it, not Victor, not the government, not anyone who doesn't understand what it means. The baby kicked. Emma smiled despite herself. You agree, huh? Good, because we have a lot of work to do. She heard a noise downstairs. Footsteps, voices. Agent Chen had said she would post guards overnight, making sure no one disturbed the evidence. But these footsteps sounded different, hurried, nervous. Emma stood slowly, moved to the door, listened. Can't believe they're just letting her stay here. Orders from Washington. The pregnant heir is a sympathetic figure. They don't want bad press. She knows more than she's telling. Did you see her face when they brought out the Leonardo? Everyone saw. That painting is going to cause a war. Every government on Earth is going to want a piece of it. Emma's blood chilled. These weren't FBI agents. The FBI had official protocols, proper procedures. These men were talking about her like she was a problem to be solved. She crept down the hallway toward the back staircase, the one the servants would have used if Marguerite had ever had servants. More voices from below. At least 4 men, maybe more. The painting is in the red room, 3rd floor. What about the woman? 2nd floor, nursery. Should we? Not yet. Get the painting first, then we deal with her. Emma's heart hammered. They were coming for the Leonardo, and then they were coming for her. She reached the back staircase and descended as quickly as her injured ankle would allow. The kitchen, the back door. If she could get outside, get to one of the FBI vehicles, she pushed open the back door. A man was waiting on the other side. He grabbed her by the throat and slammed her against the wall. Hello again, Miss Collins, Anton said. Victor sends his regards. Anton's fingers tightened around Emma's throat, cutting off her air. She clawed at his hands, her vision already starting to blur. Victor is very disappointed in you, Anton said, his breath hot against her face. He offered you a partnership. You chose to betray him. Emma couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Her baby kicked frantically, sensing her distress. The FBI thinks they've won. They think Victor is finished. Anton smiled, and there was nothing human in it. But Victor has friends in places you can't imagine. He was released 2 hours ago. Diplomatic immunity, a gift from a grateful foreign government. Released. Victor was free. Now, Anton loosened his grip just enough for Emma to gasp for air. You're going to walk back inside with me. You're going to show my men where the Leonardo is. And then we're going to leave, and you're going to forget any of this ever happened. The FBI agents are currently unconscious. We have about 15 minutes before their backup arrives. Anton pulled her away from the wall. Move. He shoved her toward the back door. Emma stumbled, her injured ankle giving way. She fell hard, one hand instinctively protecting her belly. Anton grabbed her arm and yanked her up. I said move. Emma's mind raced. 15 minutes. She had 15 minutes before help arrived. She had to stall. The painting isn't where you think it is, she said. Anton paused. What? The FBI moved it after you were arrested. They took it to a secure facility in Helena. You're lying. Check the red room. See for yourself. Anton studied her face. Emma kept her expression blank, praying he couldn't see the desperation behind her eyes. Pavel, Anton called. "Check the 3rd floor, now." Footsteps pounded up the stairs. Emma counted seconds. 30 seconds? A minute? 2? "Anton?" Pavel's voice echoed down. "It's gone. The room is empty." Anton's grip on Emma's arm tightened painfully. "Where is it?" "I told you, they moved it." "When?" "This afternoon, while you were being processed." Anton's eyes narrowed. He didn't believe her, but he wasn't certain, and uncertainty made him hesitate. "Victor wants that painting. He's wanted it his entire life. His grandfather died trying to find it." Anton leaned close. "If you're lying to me, I will cut that baby out of your stomach and leave you both to bleed in the snow. Do you understand?" Emma's whole body trembled, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm not lying. The FBI has it. If you want it back, you'll have to negotiate with them." Anton stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed. "Victor, we have a problem." Emma listened to the one-sided conversation, her heart pounding. "She says they moved it. I don't know. Pavel confirmed the room is empty. Yes, I understand, but if we stay much longer..." Anton's expression shifted. Fear flickered across his face. "Yes, I understand. We'll bring her." He hung up and looked at Emma with something that might have been pity. "Victor wants to speak with you personally. He's not happy." They dragged her out through the back door past the unconscious FBI agent slumped in the snow toward a black SUV waiting with its engine running. Emma's mind screamed for a way out, but her ankle wouldn't support her weight. Her hands were zip-tied behind her back, and there were 4 armed men between her and freedom. They shoved her into the back seat. Anton climbed in beside her. "Drive," he told the man behind the wheel. "Victor's waiting at the airstrip." The SUV lurched forward, headlights cutting through the darkness. Emma watched the lantern house disappear in the rearview mirror. The crown of glass caught the moonlight one last time before the trees swallowed it. She was leaving the only safe place she had ever known, and she had no idea if she would ever see it again. The drive to the airstrip took 23 minutes. Emma spent every second of it trying to figure out a plan. The zip ties cut into her wrists. Her baby had gone still, as if afraid to move. Her ankle throbbed with every bump in the road. "You know you can't win," she said to Anton. "The FBI knows about Victor. They know about the collection. Even if you take the Leonardo, they'll hunt you forever. The FBI has no jurisdiction where we're going." "Where's that?" Anton smiled. "Somewhere beyond the reach of American law." Emma's blood ran cold. If they got her on a plane, she would never be seen again. She had to act before they reached the airstrip. "I need to use the bathroom." Anton snorted. "Hold it." "I'm 7 months pregnant. I can't hold it." She shifted uncomfortably. "Please. I'll cooperate. I just need 5 minutes." Anton looked at her with disgust. Then he pulled out his phone. "Victor, the woman needs to relieve herself. Yes, I know, time is critical. Fine." He hung up and leaned forward to the driver. "Pull over at the next gas station." The gas station appeared 3 minutes later, a small building with 2 pumps and a flickering neon sign. Closed for the night, but the bathroom was accessible from outside. Anton escorted Emma to the door, his hand gripping her arm. 2 minutes. Leave the door cracked open." Emma nodded and went inside. The bathroom was small. Dirty. A single window above the toilet, barely large enough for a child to fit through. But Emma wasn't thinking about the window. She was thinking about the fire alarm she had spotted on the wall outside. She flushed the toilet, ran the water, made noise. Then she pulled a paper towel from the dispenser, held it under the water until it was soaked, and stuffed it into the toilet. The toilet overflowed immediately, water spreading across the floor. "What's going on in there?" Anton banged on the door. "The toilet's broken. Water everywhere." She heard him curse. The door burst open. Anton's eyes went to the flooding floor. For 1 second, just 1 second, his attention wasn't on her. Emma lunged past him and slammed her palm against the fire alarm. Sirens exploded into the night. Anton spun toward her, but Emma was already running. Hobbling, really, her ankle screaming with every step, but moving, toward the road, toward the headlights of a truck she could see approaching in the distance. "Stop her, Hop!" Anton shouted. Footsteps pounded behind her. She could hear them gaining. Emma reached the road just as the truck approached. She threw herself into its path, arms waving. Brakes screamed. The truck skidded to a halt inches from her body. The driver's door flew open. A man jumped out, his face pale with shock. "What the hell?" "Please?" Emma gasped. "Call 911. Those men are trying to kidnap me." The driver looked past her at Anton and his men frozen at the edge of the gas station lot, at the fire alarm still blaring into the night. He pulled out his phone. Anton made a decision. He turned and ran back to the SUV. Emma collapsed against the truck, her whole body shaking. She watched the black vehicle speed away into the darkness. Gone. But not for long. Viktor Resnick was still out there, and he would never stop hunting her. The police arrived at 12:34 in the morning. Then the FBI. Then Dr. Hoffman looking exhausted and furious. "They got past our perimeter," she said. "4 agents down, 2 in the hospital." Emma sat in the back of an ambulance, a paramedic checking her vitals. Her baby was moving again, agitated but healthy. Anton said Viktor was released. Diplomatic immunity. Dr. Hoffman's expression tightened. "That's impossible. The charges were federal." "He said Viktor has friends in places we can't imagine. He might be telling the truth." Agent Chen approached her face grim. "We just got word from Washington. Viktor Resnick was released 2 hours ago. Someone pulled strings at the highest levels." "Who?" "We don't know yet. But whoever they are, they have enough power to override federal prosecution." Emma felt the last of her hope drain away. "So he's just free after everything he did. For now." Agent Chen's jaw tightened. "But he made a mistake tonight. He sent his men to attack federal agents. That's not something diplomatic immunity can cover. When we find him..." "You won't find him. He's already gone. Anton said something about leaving the country." "Then we'll track him internationally. This isn't over." But Emma could see it in their eyes. The resignation. The frustration. Viktor Resnick had money. Power. Connections that reached into governments and intelligence agencies. And he wanted the Leonardo more than he wanted anything in the world. "The painting," Emma said suddenly. "Where is it really?" Agent Chen exchanged a glance with Dr. Hoffman. "We moved it this afternoon. To a secure facility in Helena, just like you told Anton." Emma blinked. "I was guessing. I had no idea." "Lucky guess." Dr. Hoffman almost smiled. "Your lie bought us time. If they had found the painting tonight..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. "What happens now?" Emma asked. "Now." Dr. Hoffman sighed. "Now we put you somewhere safe while we figure out how to protect a collection worth $245 million from a man who can apparently buy his way out of federal custody. Somewhere safe. As if such a place existed anymore." They took Emma to a safe house in Missoula. A nondescript apartment in a nondescript building guarded by agents who changed shifts every 8 hours. Thomas Morrison came to see her the next morning. His face was bruised, his arm in a sling, but he was alive. "I'm so sorry," he said, sinking into a chair across from her. "This is all my fault. If I hadn't contacted Dr. Hoffman, if I hadn't tried to help, then Viktor would have taken everything and we'd both be dead." Emma touched his uninjured hand. "You did the right thing. The right thing nearly got you killed. The wrong thing definitely would have." Thomas managed a weak smile. "Marguerite always said you were the one, the only person she could trust with her secrets." He shook his head. "I thought she was being dramatic. Now I understand. She knew this would happen. She knew Viktor's family would never stop hunting. She knew a lot of things she never told me." Thomas reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "This arrived at my office yesterday. It was in Marguerite's safety deposit box with instructions to deliver it to you after the contents of the house were revealed." Emma took the envelope with trembling hands. Her name was written on the front in Marguerite's spidery handwriting. "I'll give you some privacy," Thomas said, and left. Emma opened the envelope. "My dearest Emma," the letter began. "If you are reading this, then you have found the house and everything I hid within its walls. You have probably also discovered the Leonardo, and you are probably very frightened. Good. You should be. The painting has a history that I could not write in my journal for fear that the wrong eyes might see it. But you need to know the truth if you are to protect yourself. The painting was created by Leonardo da Vinci sometime between 1490 and 1495. It is a portrait of a woman named Isabella, who was the daughter of a minor Italian nobleman. According to legend, Leonardo was in love with her. When she died of plague, he painted this portrait from memory, pouring all his grief and love into the work. But that is not why men have killed for it. Hidden beneath the paint in a layer that can only be seen with modern imaging technology is a map. Leonardo was more than an artist. He was an inventor, a scientist, a man who understood secrets. And he hid the greatest secret of all within this painting. The map leads to a vault in the mountains of northern Italy. A vault that Leonardo filled with his most dangerous inventions. Weapons, machines, designs that were centuries ahead of their time. No one knows exactly what is in that vault, but everyone who has tried to find it has died. Heinrich Resnick spent his life searching for the painting because he believed the vault contained something that would make him more powerful than any king or president. His son believed the same, and now his grandson believes it too. This is why I hid the painting, not because of its monetary value, but because of what it leads to. I do not know if the vault exists, I do not know if Leonardo's inventions are real or legend, but I know that men have killed for this painting, and they will kill again. You have a choice now, Emma. You can give the painting to the authorities and hope they can protect it. You can destroy it and end the hunt forever. Or you can hide it again as I did and hope that no one finds it for another 70 years. Whatever you choose, know that I believe in you. You are stronger than you know, and you are not alone. The families whose treasures I protected are watching over you. I am watching over you, and someday when your child is grown, they will understand why you made the choices you made. Be brave, my darling. Be wise, and never ever trust a Resnick. With all my love, Marguerite Emma read the letter 3 times. A map, a vault, Leonardo's most dangerous inventions. This was why Victor would never stop. This was why his family had hunted Marguerite for 60 years. The painting wasn't just priceless art. It was a key to something even more valuable, and Emma was the only person alive who knew the truth. She burned the letter in the apartment's small fireplace and watched the ashes curl and blacken. Some secrets were too dangerous to share, even with the people trying to protect her. 2 days passed. Emma stayed in the safe house watching the news, waiting for something to happen. Victor Resnick had vanished. His men had scattered. The international manhunt was making headlines, but no one could find him. Dr. Hoffman visited on the 3rd morning. We've begun the authentication process for the Leonardo, she said. If it's real and our preliminary analysis suggests it is, it will be the most significant art discovery in modern history. What happens to it after authentication? That's complicated. Italy is already claiming ownership. So is France, based on where it was during World War II, and there are several museums making cases for why they should house it. What about Marguerite's wishes? Dr. Hoffman hesitated. Marguerite left no written instructions about the Leonardo, only the other pieces. Because she couldn't. Because she knew what the painting really was. I want it destroyed, Emma said. Dr. Hoffman stared at her. I'm sorry. The painting. I want it destroyed. Emma, that's not possible. We're talking about a Leonardo da Vinci, a priceless masterpiece. The cultural significance alone. People have died for that painting. More people will die. Victor Resnick will never stop hunting it. Emma met Dr. Hoffman's eyes. Sometimes the only way to end a curse is to destroy what carries it. This isn't about curses. This is about history, about art, It's about a map. Dr. Hoffman froze. What did you say? Emma realized her mistake instantly, but it was too late to take it back. There's something hidden in the painting, underneath the visible layer, something Victor's family has been hunting for generations. Dr. Hoffman's expression shifted, professional curiosity overtaking shock. How do you know this? Marguerite left me a letter, explaining everything. Emma's voice hardened. The painting leads to something dangerous, something that should never be found. What? I don't know exactly, but I know that everyone who has possessed that painting has died, and I know that Victor Resnick wants it badly enough to commit murder. Dr. Hoffman was quiet for a long moment. If what you're saying is true, we need to examine the painting more closely. Modern imaging technology could reveal... No. Emma grabbed Dr. Hoffman's arm. That's exactly what you can't do. If you reveal what's hidden, Victor will know. Everyone will know. And the hunt will never end. Emma, I understand your fear, but you're asking me to suppress a major historical discovery. I'm asking you to protect people. Isn't that what you do? Isn't that why you work in Holocaust recovery, to protect the memories and treasures of murdered families? Dr. Hoffman's jaw tightened. Those families wanted their treasures returned, not destroyed. And if returning them meant more death, more suffering, more men like Victor Resnick hunting and killing to possess them, Emma's voice cracked. Marguerite spent 70 years hiding that painting because she knew what it would unleash. She died protecting that secret. Are you telling me her sacrifice meant nothing? Dr. Hoffman didn't answer, because there was no good answer. Some questions had no right solutions, only choices between different kinds of wrong. That night, Emma lay awake in the safe house, her hand on her belly, thinking about everything that had happened. She was 28 years old, pregnant, widowed, and somehow she had become the guardian of secrets worth killing for. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. She almost didn't read it, almost deleted it without looking, but something made her hesitate. She opened the message. "I know about the map," the text read. "I know what Marguerite hid, and I know you're the only one who can help me find it. Meet me tomorrow at noon. The diner where we first met. Come alone or the FBI agents guarding you will die. V. Victor." He was here. He knew where she was, and he was giving her 12 hours to decide. Emma stared at the message until her eyes burned. She could tell the FBI. They could set a trap. Try to capture Victor once and for all. But she remembered what Anton had said. Victor has friends in places you can't imagine. If she told the authorities, Victor would know. His moles would warn him, and the agents guarding her would pay the price. She deleted the message and lay back down. Tomorrow she would meet Victor Resnick alone. And one way or another, this would end. Emma left the safe house at 11:23 the next morning. She told the agents she needed air, that she was going stir-crazy, that a pregnant woman couldn't be expected to stay cooped up indefinitely. They offered to accompany her. She insisted she needed space. They let her go. The diner was a 15-minute walk. Emma moved slowly, her ankles still tender, her eyes scanning every face she passed. Victor could be anywhere. His men could be watching. She reached Mel's diner at 11:52 and found a booth in the back. The same booth where Victor had surprised her before. This time she was ready for him. At exactly noon, the door opened. Victor Resnick walked in alone. He wore a dark coat and a calm expression, as if they were meeting for a business lunch rather than a confrontation. He slid into the booth across from her. "Miss Collins, thank you for coming." "I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice. You chose your guards' lives over your own safety." He smiled. "That's admirable. Foolish, but admirable." "What do you want?" "The same thing I've always wanted, the painting, and what's hidden inside it." "I don't have the painting. The FBI does." "I know, but you have something else." Victor leaned forward. "You have Marguerite's letter, the one that explains everything, the one that tells you about the map and the vault, and what Leonardo hid there 500 years ago. Emma's blood went cold. "How do you know about that?" "I have people everywhere, Miss Collins, including inside the FBI." "A mole." Victor had a mole in the investigation. "The letter was destroyed." "Was it?" Victor's smile widened. "I don't think so. I think you kept it. I think you memorized every word. And I think somewhere deep inside you want to know what Leonardo hid as much as I do." "You're wrong." "Am I?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph. "This was taken 3 hours ago." Emma looked at the image. Her heart stopped. Thomas Morrison? Bound to a chair, a gun pressed against his temple. "You have until midnight to bring me Marguerite's letter. Every word of it written exactly as she wrote it. If you don't..." Victor tucked the photo back into his pocket. "Well, you've already lost one person you cared about. I'd hate for you to lose another." "I burned the letter." "Then you'd better have an excellent memory." Victor stood. "Midnight, Miss Collins. I'll send you the location. Come alone with the information I need, or Mr. Morrison dies." He paused at the edge of the booth. "And please don't try anything clever. I have people watching everyone you might think to contact, including Dr. Hoffman, including Agent Chen, including the nice couple who helped you escape from the mountains. Ruth and George. He knew about Ruth and George. If I see any sign of law enforcement, if I suspect for even a moment that you've betrayed me, I will start killing people you care about, one by one, until you give me what I want." He walked out of the diner. Emma sat frozen in the booth, her hands shaking, her baby kicking frantically. 12 hours. She had 12 hours to save Thomas Morrison's life, and the only way to do it was to give Victor Resnick the key to Leonardo's vault. Emma walked back to the safe house in a daze. Her mind raced through options. None of them good. She could tell the FBI, but Victor had a mole. If she said anything, Thomas would die. She could try to rescue Thomas herself, but she didn't know where he was being held, and she was 7 months pregnant with a sprained ankle. She could give Victor what he wanted, but then he would have the map to Leonardo's vault, to weapons and machines that had been hidden for 500 years. Marguerite's voice echoed in her memory. Never, ever trust a Resnick. But what choice did she have? She reached the safe house and told the agents she wasn't feeling well, that she needed to rest. They believed her. Why wouldn't they? She was pregnant and exhausted and had been through hell. She went to her room and closed the door. And she started to write. She wrote everything she remembered from Marguerite's letter, every detail, every name, every clue about the map and the vault and what Leonardo had hidden there. It took her 3 hours. When she finished, her hand was cramped and her eyes were blurry. But she had what Victor wanted. The question was whether she could live with giving it to him. At 6:47 that evening, Emma's phone buzzed with a location. An abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Missoula. Classic. She had 5 hours. She spent the first hour thinking, the second hour pacing, the third hour crying. At 9:30, she made a decision. She couldn't save Thomas by herself. She couldn't trust the FBI. But there was one person she might be able to trust. Someone Victor didn't know about. She found the satellite phone George had lent her still tucked in the bottom of her bag. She had never returned it. She dialed his number. Hello? George, it's Emma Collins. A pause. Emma, are you all right? No, I need your help. She told him everything. The painting, the map, Victor's threat, Thomas. George listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. What do you need from me? I need to get Thomas out alive, but I can't do it alone. You want me to come to the warehouse with you. I want you to call someone. Anyone. The police, the FBI, whoever you trust. But not until after I've gone inside. Not until after Victor thinks he's won. That's a dangerous plan. I know, but it's the only one I have. Another long pause. What time? Midnight. The warehouse on Industrial Drive. I'll be there. But Emma? Be careful. Men like Victor Resnick don't let witnesses walk away. I know. She hung up and looked at the papers in her hand, Marguerite's secrets written in her own handwriting. One way or another, this ended tonight. At 11:43, Emma slipped out of the safe house. The agents had changed shifts at 11 Zurich. The new guards were still getting settled, checking perimeters, establishing routines. They didn't notice her leave. She walked through the dark streets of Missoula, her heart pounding her baby still for once. As if even the child understood the gravity of what was about to happen. The warehouse loomed ahead. Dark, silent, waiting. Emma approached the entrance and found the door unlocked. She stepped inside. Victor was waiting in the center of the cavernous space, flanked by Anton and 2 other men. Behind them, Thomas Morrison sat bound to a chair, his face bruised and bloody. Miss Collins. Victor spread his arms. Right on time. I have what you want. Emma held up the papers. Everything Marguerite wrote, word for word? Excellent. Bring it here. Emma didn't move. Release Thomas first. Victor laughed. You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you. You want this information. I want Thomas alive. We make the exchange or I burn these pages right now. She pulled a lighter from her pocket, held it near the papers. Victor's smile faded. You wouldn't. Try me. A long, tense silence. Then Victor nodded to Anton. Release the lawyer. Anton cut Thomas's bonds. The older man stumbled to his feet, swaying. Come to me, Emma said. Slowly. Thomas limped across the warehouse floor. When he reached Emma, she grabbed his arm and steadied him. Now, Victor said. The papers. Emma handed them over. Victor scanned the pages, his eyes widening with each paragraph. The vault is in the Dolomites, he breathed. Leonardo hid it in the mountains. He looked up at Emma with something like respect. Your great-aunt was remarkable. To have kept this secret for 70 years. She kept it because she knew what men like you would do with it. Men like me, Victor tucked the papers into his coat. I'm going to change the world, Miss Collins. Whatever Leonardo hid in that vault, it's been waiting 500 years for someone with the vision to use it. You're going to start wars. I'm going to end them, on my terms. He turned to his men. We're done here, kill them both. Anton raised his gun, and the warehouse doors exploded inward. FBI agents poured through every entrance, weapons drawn, shouting commands. FBI, everyone on the ground, now. Victor spun, his face twisted with rage. You called them. You lying. Emma grabbed Thomas and dove behind a stack of crates as gunfire erupted. Bullets tore through the warehouse. Men screamed. Bodies fell. Emma pressed herself against the concrete floor, one arm around Thomas, one arm around her belly, praying. The shooting stopped. Silence fell. Clear, someone shouted. All hostiles down. Emma lifted her head. FBI agents were swarming the warehouse, checking bodies, securing weapons. Anton lay motionless near the entrance, blood pooling beneath him. But Victor was gone. Agent Chen appeared beside her, helping her to her feet. Are you hurt? No, but Victor... We know. He escaped through a back exit. Agent Chen's jaw tightened. But we got his men, and we got these. She held up the papers Emma had written. We found them on one of Victor's men. Everything about the map, the Vault Leonardo's secrets. Agent Chen looked at Emma with new understanding. You planned this. I hoped for it. George called you. 20 minutes ago, said a pregnant woman needed help and gave us this address. Agent Chen almost smiled. Brave old man. Emma looked at the papers in Agent Chen's hand. At Marguerite's secrets now in the possession of the FBI. What happens to that information? It gets classified, buried, hidden away where no one can use it. And the painting? Same thing. Some discoveries are too dangerous to share with the world. Agent Chen squeezed Emma's arm. Your great-aunt was right to hide it, and you were right to trust us. Emma wasn't sure she had trusted anyone. She had gambled, and for once the gamble had paid off. But Victor was still out there, still hunting, and somewhere in the mountains of Italy, Leonardo's vault was still waiting. They took Thomas to the hospital. They took Emma back to the safe house. They promised her that Victor would be caught, that she would be safe. Emma didn't believe them, but for the first time in days, she slept. And in her dreams, Marguerite smiled at her from the crown of glass at the top of the lantern house. Well done, my darling, Marguerite whispered. Well done. 3 weeks passed before Emma felt safe enough to return to the lantern house. The FBI had maintained a presence there since the warehouse raid agents rotating in shifts documenting the collection coordinating with international authorities. Victor Resnick remained at large, but intelligence suggested he had fled to Eastern Europe, regrouping planning his next move. Dr. Hoffman called it a victory. Emma called it a reprieve. She arrived at the house on a Tuesday afternoon, 8 months pregnant, now her belly enormous, her back aching with every step. Thomas Morrison drove her up the mountain road, his arm still in a sling, but healing. You don't have to do this, he said as the lantern shape emerged through the trees. The FBI can handle everything. I need to see it. I need to understand what Marguerite built. Thomas didn't argue. He had learned in the weeks since his rescue that Emma Collins was not a woman who could be talked out of anything. Agent Chen met them at the front door. Miss Collins, welcome back. How bad is it? Not as bad as we feared. Victor's men did some damage during the initial raid, but most of the hidden compartments remained intact. Agent Chen led them inside. We've cataloged 217 individual pieces. Paintings, sculptures, jewelry documents. The total value exceeds $300 million. Emma stopped in the circular foyer. The brass lantern still sat on the marble table exactly where Marguerite had left it. 300 million, I thought it was 245. That was Marguerite's estimate. She was being conservative. Agent Chen handed Emma a tablet displaying a spreadsheet. Some of these pieces haven't been seen since 1942. The art world is losing its mind. Emma scrolled through the list. Names she recognized, names she didn't. Families erased by the Holocaust, their treasures preserved by a woman who had spent 70 years in isolation. What happens now? That's what we need to discuss. Doctor. Hoffman appeared from the library looking exhausted but determined. The authentication process is nearly complete. We've identified 47 pieces with clear provenience, meaning we know exactly which families owned them before the war. And the others? More complicated. Some records were destroyed. Some families have no surviving descendants, and some pieces... Dr. Hoffman hesitated. Some pieces have multiple claimants. Different families insisting they were the original owners. What about the Leonardo? Dr. Hoffman and Agent Chen exchanged glances. The Leonardo has been moved to a secure government facility. The authentication process alone will take months, possibly years. Dr. Hoffman's voice was careful. And there's the matter of what's hidden beneath the paint. You examined it. We had to. Once Victor's interest became public knowledge, every intelligence agency in the world started asking questions. Doctor. Hoffman pulled out her phone and showed Emma an image. This is an X-ray of the painting. Emma looked at the image. Beneath the portrait of the mysterious woman, barely visible, was a network of lines and symbols. A map, just as Marguerite had said. We've identified the location. A mountain in the Italian Dolomites about 50 kilometers from the Austrian border. Have you sent anyone to look? The Italian government has jurisdiction. They've sent a team. Dr. Hoffman put away her phone. But Emma, you need to understand something. Whatever is in that vault, if it exists at all, it's been there for 500 years. It's not going anywhere. Victor thinks it's worth killing for. Victor thinks a lot of things. That doesn't make them true. Emma wanted to believe her, but she remembered the look in Victor's eyes when he talked about the vault. The hunger, the obsession. Some things were worth killing for, and some men would never stop until they possessed them. I want to see the rest of the house, Emma said. Everything Marguerite built. They spent the next 4 hours exploring. Emma had seen bits and pieces during her first frantic visit, but now she could appreciate the full scope of Marguerite's achievement. The curved walls weren't just beautiful, they were engineered to create hidden spaces at precise intervals. The spiral windows weren't just decorative, they allowed light to reach every corner of the house, making it impossible for anyone to hide in shadows. And the glass crown at the top where Marguerite had kept her most precious secrets was designed to catch the first light of dawn and the last light of dusk, creating a beacon visible for miles. She built this as a fortress, Emma said, standing in the crown room. A beautiful fortress. She built it as a promise, Dr. Hoffman corrected. Every design choice, every hidden compartment was meant to protect the treasures inside until they could be returned. But they never were, not while she was alive. No, but they will be now. Dr. Hoffman touched Emma's arm. That's what we need to discuss, the restitution process. They sat in Marguerite's library surrounded by books in languages Emma couldn't read. Dr. Hoffman spread documents across the table. We've identified 17 families with surviving descendants, some in Israel, some in France, some scattered across the United States. She pointed to a list of names. The Goldsteins, the Rosenbergs, the Levines, the Cohens. These families have been searching for their lost heritage for 80 years. Emma looked at the names. Real people, real families, real loss. What do they want to eat? Different things. Some want the pieces returned. Others want them sold with proceeds distributed among heirs. A few want them donated to museums with plaques honoring their murdered relatives. And the families that have no descendants, that's where you come in. Dr. Hoffman pulled out another document. As Marguerite's heir, you have legal authority over any unclaimed pieces. You can donate them, sell them, or keep them. I don't want to keep them. I didn't think you would. But the decision needs to be formalized. We're proposing the creation of a foundation, the Marguerite Beaumont Memorial Foundation. It would oversee the restitution process, manage unclaimed pieces, and provide educational programming about Holocaust art recovery. A foundation? Emma touched her belly, where her baby was kicking. That sounds like something Marguerite would have wanted. It's what she spent 70 years working toward, even if she never used that name. Emma looked around the library, at the books Marguerite had collected, at the house she had built, at the legacy she had protected with her life. I'll do it, whatever you need. Dr. Hoffman smiled for the first time since Emma had met her. I was hoping you'd say that. They were interrupted at 4:47 by Agent Chen's radio crackling to life. Chen, we've got a situation at the perimeter. Agent Chen stepped away at her hand on her weapon. Emma watched her face change. Concern. Then alarm. What kind of situation? Unknown vehicle approaching, black SUV, no plates. Emma's blood went cold. Get Miss Collins to the safe room, now. Agent Chen grabbed Emma's arm and pulled her toward the stairs. Thomas followed, his face pale. What's happening? Emma demanded. Probably nothing, but we're not taking chances. They climbed to the 3rd floor. Agent Chen pushed open a door Emma hadn't noticed before, hidden behind a decorative panel. Inside was a small room with reinforced walls, a communication system, and supplies for several days. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me. Agent Chen? I mean it, Emma. Anyone. She was gone before Emma could respond. Emma and Thomas sat in the darkness of the safe room listening. Footsteps, voices, the distant sound of car doors slamming, then silence. Minutes passed. Emma counted her heartbeats. Her baby kicked and twisted, sensing her fear. It's going to be fine, Thomas whispered. The FBI has this under control. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. Emma wanted to believe it too, but she had learned in the weeks since inheriting this house that belief wasn't enough. Victor Resnick had resources, connections, an obsession that bordered on madness, and he was still out there. At 5:23, footsteps approached the safe room door. A knock. 3 times, then twice, then 3 times again. The pattern Agent Chen had told them to listen for. Thomas moved to open the door. Wait. Emma grabbed his arm. Ask who it is first. Emma? Just do it. Thomas pressed his ear against the door. Who's there? Agent Chen, it's clear. You can come out. Thomas looked at Emma. She nodded slowly. He opened the door. Agent Chen stood in the hallway, her weapon holstered, her expression unreadable. False alarm. The SUV belonged to a news crew. They've been trying to get footage of the house for days. Emma sagged with relief. News crew. We've escorted them off the property, but Emma, this is going to keep happening. The story is too big. Everyone wants a piece of it. What do you suggest? I suggest you give them what they want. Agent Chen met her eyes. A press conference. Tell your story. Control the narrative before someone else does. Emma thought about it. The cameras, the questions, the exposure. And Victor is in Romania according to our latest intelligence. He's not coming back to the United States anytime soon. You're sure? I'm sure he's smart enough to know we're watching, and I'm sure he's patient enough to wait. That wasn't reassuring, but it was honest. Okay, Emma said. Set up the press conference. The press conference was scheduled for 3 days later at the Helena Convention Center. Emma spent those 3 days preparing, working with Dr. Hoffman on talking points, rehearsing answers to difficult questions, trying to figure out how to explain what had happened without revealing the secrets that still needed to stay hidden. Thomas helped when he could, but his injuries were still healing. Ruth and George drove down from their cabin to offer support, bringing homemade soup and the kind of quiet strength that Emma had come to rely on. You don't have to do this, Ruth said the night before the press conference. No one would blame you for staying quiet. I know, but Marguerite stayed quiet for 70 years. Look where that got her. She protected something precious. And now I need to protect something different. Emma touched her belly. The truth, the families, the legacy, none of that survives if I stay silent. Ruth smiled and squeezed her hand. You sound like her, strong, determined. I don't feel strong. No one ever does. That's the secret. Strength isn't a feeling, it's a choice. The convention center was packed. Every major news outlet had sent representatives. Cameras lined the back wall, reporters filled the seats, notebooks, ready, recorders running. Emma walked to the podium with Dr. Hoffman on one side and Agent Chen on the other. Thomas sat in the front row, his eyes never leaving her face. My name is Emma Collins, she began, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. 3 weeks ago, I inherited a house from a woman I had never met, a great-aunt named Marguerite Beaumont who spent 70 years protecting treasures that didn't belong to her. She told the story. Not all of it, but enough. The Holocaust, the families who had trusted Marguerite, the collection hidden in the walls of a house shaped like a lantern. She didn't mention the Leonardo. She didn't mention the map or the vault or Leonardo's secrets. Some things were still too dangerous to share. The Marguerite Beaumont Memorial Foundation will oversee the return of these treasures to their rightful owners, Emma concluded. Every painting, every sculpture, every piece of jewelry will be authenticated, documented, and either returned to surviving families or preserved in their memory. This is what Marguerite wanted. This is what I intend to honor. The questions came fast and hard. Miss Collins, what can you tell us about Victor Resnick's involvement? Victor Resnick attempted to steal the collection by force. He is currently a fugitive from federal law enforcement. Is it true the collection includes a previously unknown Leonardo da Vinci? Emma kept her face blank. I can't comment on specific pieces while the authentication process is ongoing. What about rumors of a curse that everyone who possesses certain pieces dies violently? I don't believe in curses, I believe in choices. Marguerite chose to protect these treasures. I'm choosing to return them. Miss Collins, you're visibly pregnant. How do you plan to manage a foundation while raising a child? Emma smiled despite herself. The same way women have managed everything throughout history, one day at a time. The press conference ended at 2:34 in the afternoon. Emma was exhausted, her back aching, her baby kicking in protest at the stress. But it was done. The story was out. And now the real work could begin. She was leaving the convention center when her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her stop. Hello. Miss Collins? Victor Resnick's voice was calm, controlled. Congratulations on your press conference. Very moving. Emma's blood turned to ice. She looked around, frantically searching for Agent Chen. How did you get this number? I have friends everywhere. You should know that by now. What do you want? The same thing I've always wanted. The painting, the map, what Leonardo hid in the mountains. The FBI has all of that. The FBI has what I allowed them to find. Victor's voice hardened. The papers you wrote for me were incomplete. You left out the most important part, the exact location of the vault entrance. Emma's mind raced. She had left it out on purpose, hoping to protect the secret even while surrendering it. I don't know the exact location. I think you do. I think Marguerite told you more than you've admitted to anyone. A pause. I'm going to give you 1 week to remember. After that, I'm going to start hurting people you care about, starting with the nice old couple who helped you escape. Ruth, George. If you touch them. 1 week, Miss Collins. I'll be in contact. The line went dead. Emma stood frozen in the parking lot, her phone clutched in her trembling hand. Victor was still watching, still hunting, and now he was threatening the people who had saved her life. She found Agent Chen immediately. He called me, Victor. He's threatening Ruth and George. Agent Chen's face went hard. Where are they now? They were supposed to drive back to their cabin this afternoon. I'll send agents to intercept them. We'll put them in protective custody. He said he has friends everywhere. How do we know your agents aren't compromised? We don't. Agent Chen met Emma's eyes. But we have to try. We have to believe that most people are good. Emma wanted to believe it, but Victor had already proven that he could reach her anywhere, that his connections extended into places she couldn't imagine. How do you fight an enemy who can see everything you do? The answer came to her 3 hours later. She was sitting in the safe house watching the news coverage of her press conference when her phone buzzed again. This time, the number was familiar. Thomas Morrison. Emma, I've been thinking about your problem. Which problem? I have several. Victor, his ability to track you, monitor your communications, anticipate your moves. Thomas paused. I think I know how he's doing it. How? When his men took me, they went through my files. All of them. Including Marguerite's complete legal records. Thomas's voice was heavy with guilt. Emma Marguerite was paranoid about security. She had fail-safes built into everything she did, including a way to communicate that no one could trace. What do you mean? She left you something. Something I didn't include in the original inheritance documents because I didn't understand what it was. What is it? A radio, old-fashioned, shortwave. She used it to communicate with other Holocaust survivors, other people who had saved treasures during the war. A network that exists completely outside modern technology. Emma's heart began to race. Where is this radio? In the house, hidden in a place only you would think to look. Where only family would think to look. The nursery. Thomas, I need to get back to the house. I know, but Emma, be careful. If Victor's people are monitoring your movements, then I'll have to be smarter than they are. She hung up and immediately called Agent Chen. I need to go back to the Lantern House, tonight. That's not a good idea. Victor could be watching. Victor is definitely watching. That's why I need to do this. Emma's voice was firm. There's something in the house that Marguerite left for me. Something that could help us. What? A way to communicate without Victor knowing. A network he doesn't have access to. Agent Chen was quiet for a moment. That's a big claim. Marguerite spent 70 years hiding from people like Victor. She didn't survive this long by being careless. Another pause. Then, I'll arrange transportation. But Emma, if this doesn't work... It will work. It has to. They reached the Lantern House at 11:23 that night. The FBI had reduced their presence after the press conference, leaving only a skeleton crew to maintain security. Emma moved through the darkened rooms with a flashlight heading straight for the nursery. Agent Chen followed close behind. Where are we going? The nursery. Marguerite prepared it for my baby before I even knew I existed. Emma pushed open the door. She knew I was coming. She knew I would have a child. The room was exactly as she remembered it. The crib, the rocking chair, the mobile of silver stars. But this time, Emma wasn't looking at the mobile. She was looking at the rocking chair. Marguerite had said to look where only family would think to look. And what could be more connected to family than a chair where a mother would rock her child to sleep? Emma knelt beside the rocking chair and ran her hands along the base. The wood was solid, old, worn smooth by decades of use. Her fingers found a seam. She pressed and a small panel popped open. Inside was a radio, compact, old-fashioned, with a handwritten note taped to the side. For Emma, when you are ready to join the network, frequency 7.285 MHz, call sign Lantern. Emma lifted the radio with trembling hands. What is that? Agent Chen asked. Our way out, our way to communicate without Victor knowing. She turned on the radio and tuned to the frequency. Static, then faintly a voice. This is Beacon, receiving Lantern, over. Emma pressed the transmit button. This is Lantern, I need help, over. A pause. Then, "We've been waiting for you. What do you need?" Emma closed her eyes and spoke the words she had been afraid to say. "I need to disappear. And I need to take everyone I care about with me." The network moved fast. Within 24 hours, Ruth and George had been extracted from their cabin and relocated to a safe location that even the FBI didn't know about. Thomas Morrison was moved to a secure facility overseas. Dr. Hoffman was assigned around-the-clock protection, and Emma was taken to a place that didn't exist on any map, a community of Holocaust survivors and their descendants, people who had spent decades building an underground network to protect treasures, and people for men like Viktor Resnick. "How long has this network existed?" Emma asked her contact, an elderly man named Benjamin, who had survived Auschwitz as a child. "Since 1946. We started as refugees helping refugees. Over time, we evolved into something more." Benjamin smiled gently. "Your great-aunt was one of our founders. She helped design our communication protocols, our security measures, our methods of staying hidden." "Shh! She never told anyone. She couldn't. That was the point. The network only works if no one knows it exists." Emma touched her belly. Her baby was due in 4 weeks. She couldn't run forever. "What happens when Victor finds me, because he will find me eventually?" "That depends on what you want to happen." "I want him stopped. Permanently." Benjamin nodded slowly. "Then we need to give him something he wants more than you. Something so valuable he'll expose himself to get it." "The vault. Leonardo's vault." "Exactly." Benjamin leaned forward. "The Italian team found the entrance 3 days ago. It's real, Emma. Everything Leonardo hid is still there." "What's inside but machines, weapons, designs that are centuries ahead of their time?" Benjamin's voice was grave. "And something else. Something no one expected." "What?" "A document, written in Leonardo's own hand, explaining why he hid everything, why he never shared his most dangerous inventions with the world." Emma's breath caught. "What does it say?" "It says that some knowledge is too dangerous for humanity, that some secrets must stay buried forever, that he was sealing this vault not to protect the contents, but to protect the world from the contents." Emma thought about Victor, about his hunger, his obsession. "He won't care. He'll want it anyway." "Yes, he will." Benjamin met her eyes. "And that's how we'll catch him." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. They would leak information about the vault through channels they knew Victor was monitoring. They would make it seem like the Italian government was about to seal the vault, permanently destroying everything inside. Victor would have no choice but to act, to expose himself, to come out of hiding, and when he did, they would be waiting. "It's risky," Agent Chen said when Emma explained it over the secure radio. "If Victor suspects a trap, he won't. He's too arrogant, too certain that he's smarter than everyone else." "And if he's right?" Emma touched her belly. Her baby kicked as if urging her forward. "Then at least I'll have tried. I can't spend the rest of my life hiding. I can't raise my child in fear." "Emma, you're 8 months pregnant. You can't be part of a tactical operation." "I won't be part of the tactical operation, but I need to be there when it ends." Agent Chen was quiet for a long moment. "I'll see what I can do." The operation was scheduled for March 15th. Emma watched from a safe distance as teams from 5 countries converged on the mountain where Leonardo's vault waited. FBI, Interpol, Italian authorities, and the network operating in shadows filling the gaps. Viktor Resnick arrived at 2:47 in the afternoon. He came with 20 men armed and ready for a fight. He came believing he was about to claim the treasure his family had hunted for 60 years. He never saw the trap closing around him. Emma listened to the operation unfold over the secure radio. Gunfire, shouting, the sounds of men being subdued, and then finally the words she had been waiting for. "Viktor Resnick is in custody, all hostiles neutralized." Emma closed her eyes and felt tears stream down her face. It was over. They brought Victor to her 2 hours later. He was handcuffed, bruised, defeated, but his eyes still burned with that familiar hunger. "You think you've won," he said. "You think this is over. I know it's over. The vault is real. Everything Leonardo hid is still there, waiting for someone with the vision to use it. The vault is being sealed, permanently, on the orders of the Italian government." Victor's face twisted. "You can't do that. You can't destroy 500 years of Giro. I'm not destroying anything. I'm protecting it, the same way Marguerite protected your family's stolen art." Emma stepped closer to him. Leonardo understood something you never will. Some knowledge is too dangerous to possess. Some secrets must stay buried. You're a fool. Maybe, but I'm a fool who's free, who gets to raise her child in peace, who gets to honor her great-aunt's memory without looking over her shoulder. She turned away. This isn't over, Victor called after her. My family never gives up, never. Emma stopped but didn't turn around. Your family is finished. Your assets have been seized. Your network has been dismantled. And you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison thinking about all the treasures you'll never possess. She walked away without looking back. And for the first time since she had opened that cream-colored envelope from the lawyers and Corey and Helena, Emma Collins felt truly free. The baby came 3 weeks later. Emma was at the Lantern House when her water broke. The same house where Marguerite had spent 70 years protecting secrets. The same house where everything had begun. They rushed her to the hospital in Helena. Thomas was there. Ruth and George were there. Dr. Hoffman was there. Agent Chen was there. Everyone who had become family during the hardest weeks of her life. At 3:47 in the morning, Emma gave birth to a girl. She named her Marguerite, Maggie for short. The first time she held her daughter, Emma wept. For everything she had lost. For everything she had gained. For the grandmother she had never met, whose name this child would carry forward into a future neither of them could have imagined. Welcome to the world, little one, Emma whispered. You have a lot of people watching over you. The baby opened her eyes and looked at her mother, and Emma could have sworn she saw Marguerite smiling back. 6 months after Maggie was born, the first painting went home. Emma stood in the circular foyer of the Lantern House, holding her daughter against her chest, watching as David Rosenberg unwrapped the Rembrandt sketch that had belonged to his grandfather. His hands trembled, his eyes filled with tears. 82 years, he whispered. My family searched for 82 years. His mother, Ruth Rosenberg, stood beside him. She was 91 years old, had survived the Holocaust as a child, and had spent her entire life believing she would never see her grandfather's treasures again. May I touch it? She asked, her voice barely audible. It's yours, Emma said. Touch it, hold it, take it home. Ruth reached out with fingers that had known unimaginable suffering and brushed the edge of the frame. My father told me about this drawing. He said his father would sit beneath it every evening and read poetry aloud. She looked at Emma with eyes that held decades of grief. He died in Auschwitz, believing it was lost forever. It wasn't lost. It was waiting. Ruth pulled Emma into an embrace, careful not to crush the baby between them. Thank you. Thank you for bringing my father's memory home. That afternoon, the Rosenbergs left with the Rembrandt carefully secured in a climate-controlled case. Emma watched their car disappear down the mountain road and felt something shift inside her. This was why Marguerite had built this house. This was why she had spent 70 years in isolation. Not for the treasures themselves, but for moments like this. For families reunited with pieces of their murdered ancestors. For memories preserved against all odds. Dr. Hoffman appeared beside her, a tablet in her hand. The Goldsteins arrive tomorrow. They're flying in from Tel Aviv. The Monet? They want to donate it to the Israel Museum, with a plaque honoring Isaac and Miriam Goldstein. Emma nodded slowly. Good. That's what Marguerite would have wanted. There's something else. Dr. Hoffman's voice shifted. Careful. We received word this morning. Victor Resnick died in custody. Emma's heart stopped. What? Apparent suicide, though the Italian authorities aren't certain. Dr. Hoffman met her eyes. He left a note addressed to you. I don't want to read it. I think you should. Dr. Hoffman handed her an envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper covered in Victor's precise handwriting. Miss Collins, if you are reading this, I have chosen to end my own story rather than spend my remaining years in a cage. You have won. The vault is sealed. The collection is being returned. My family's 60-year hunt has ended in failure. But I want you to understand something. I was not a monster. I was a man pursuing what I believed was rightfully mine. My grandfather built his fortune through means I do not defend, but he was my grandfather. His dreams became my dreams. His obsessions became mine. You called me evil. Perhaps I was, but I was also human. I loved beauty. I craved knowledge. I wanted to possess something extraordinary. In the end, I possessed nothing but regret. Take care of the treasures, Miss Collins. Take care of your daughter. And remember that the line between hero and villain is thinner than anyone wants to admit. My family hunted for 60 years. Yours will protect for generations. Perhaps that is the only difference between us. Victor Resnick. Emma read the letter twice. Then she folded it carefully and tucked it into her pocket. "What are you going to do with it?" Dr. Hoffman asked. "Keep it, as a reminder." Of what? That monsters don't see themselves as monsters, that everyone believes their cause is just. Emma looked at her daughter sleeping peacefully in her arms. And that the choices we make define us more than the beliefs we hold. The foundation grew faster than anyone expected. Within a year, they had returned 37 pieces to surviving families. The stories were published in newspapers around the world. Emma became a symbol of hope, of justice, of promises kept across generations. But she refused most interviews, declined most speaking invitations, kept her focus on this work. "You could be famous," Thomas Morrison told her over dinner one evening. "You could write a book, go on talk shows, tell the world what you did." Marguerite spent 70 years avoiding fame. I think she knew something we don't. What's that? That fame attracts attention, and attention attracts people like Victor. Emma bounced Maggie on her knee. "I'd rather be invisible and safe than famous and hunted." Thomas smiled. "You sound like her, more every day." "I'll take that as a compliment." It was meant as one. On Maggie's first birthday, Emma received a package with no return address. Inside was a photograph, old and faded, showing a young woman standing in front of a half-built house. The woman was smiling, her hands covered in stone dust, her eyes bright with determination. Marguerite. In 1953, building the Lantern House. There was a note attached. "Found this in my mother's belongings after she passed. Thought you should have it. Your great aunt helped my family during the war. We never forgot. No signature, no way to trace the sender." Emma hung the photograph in the nursery where Maggie would see it every day. "That's your great-great-aunt," she told her daughter. "She built this house for you, for all the children who would come after." Maggie reached for the photograph and babbled happily. "I know," Emma said. "I miss her too." The second year brought new challenges. A collector in Switzerland claimed that 3 pieces in the collection had been legitimately purchased by his grandfather in 1943. He produced documents, provenance records, bills of sale. Dr. Hoffman examined everything and called Emma immediately. "The documents are forgeries. Good ones, but forgeries." "How can you tell? The paper is too new. The ink analysis doesn't match. And the supposed seller was already dead by 1943. Dr. Hoffman's voice was grim. "Someone is trying to steal pieces of the collection through legal channels. Who? We're still investigating, but Emma, this is just the beginning. The art world is full of people who will do anything to possess valuable pieces. Some use force, others use lawyers." Emma thought about Victor, about his death, about the note he had left. "My family hunted for 60 years. Yours will protect for generations." "Then we'll fight them in court," Emma said. "However long it takes." The legal battle lasted 14 months. Emma testified 3 times. Dr. Hoffman testified 7 times. Thomas Morrison coordinated with attorneys across 4 countries. In the end, the Swiss collector withdrew his claim. The forgeries were exposed, and the collection remained intact. But the victory came at a cost. Emma's legal fees exceeded $200,000. The foundation's resources were strained. For the first time since inheriting the house, she wondered if she could keep going. Benjamin, her contact from the network, came to visit. "You're exhausted," he said. "I can see it in your eyes." "I'm fine." "You're lying." He sat across from her in Marguerite's library. "Emma, the network has resources. Let us help." "I can't take money from Holocaust survivors." "You're not taking it. You're continuing their work." Benjamin leaned forward. "Every person in our network has a story like yours. Families lost, treasures scattered, a lifetime of searching." His voice softened. "We help each other because no one else will. Let us help you." Emma looked around the library, at the books Marguerite had collected, at the house she had built, at the legacies she had protected with her life. "Okay," she said finally. "Tell me what you need." The network provided more than money. They provided expertise, connections, intelligence about threats that Emma would never have detected on her own, and they provided something else, a community. For the first time since Daniel died, Emma didn't feel alone. Benjamin introduced her to other descendants of Holocaust survivors, people who understood what it meant to carry the weight of history, people who had dedicated their lives to ensuring that what happened to their families would never be forgotten. "We are a family," Benjamin told her. "Not by blood, but by purpose, and family protects each other." On Maggie's second birthday, the foundation celebrated a milestone. 50 pieces returned. 50 families reunited with treasures they thought were lost forever. 50 promises kept. Emma stood in the circular foyer of the Lantern House surrounded by photographs of every return. The Rosenbergs with their Rembrandt, the Goldsteins with their Monet, the Levines with a Picasso sketch, the Cohens with a collection of jewelry that had belonged to their great-grandmother. 50 faces, 50 stories, 50 moments of healing. Dr. Hoffman raised a glass of champagne. To Marguerite Beaumont, who spent 70 years protecting what was precious, and to Emma Collins, who finished what she started. To Marguerite, everyone echoed. Emma looked at her daughter toddling around the foyer in her party dress, reaching for the brass lantern on the marble table. And to Maggie, Emma added, who will carry this forward when I'm gone. That night, after the guests had left and Maggie was asleep, Emma climbed to the glass crown room at the top of the house. She hadn't been there since the night Victor's men had raided the property. The FBI had sealed it during the investigation, and afterward Emma had avoided it. Too many memories, too much pain. But tonight felt different. Tonight felt like an ending and a beginning. She sat at Marguerite's desk and pulled out a fresh notebook. Dear Maggie, she wrote, someday you will be old enough to understand everything that happened before you were born. The house, the collection, the men who wanted to take what wasn't theirs. I'm writing this so you'll know the truth. Not the version that newspapers printed. Not the stories people tell. The real truth from someone who lived it. Your great-great-aunt Marguerite was a hero. She saved treasures during the Holocaust when doing so could have cost her life. She spent 70 years protecting them, waiting for the right moment to bring them into the light. She chose me to continue her work. I don't know why. I was nobody special, a pregnant widow with nothing to offer except stubbornness and love. But maybe that's all anyone needs. Stubbornness to keep going when everything seems impossible. Love to remind us why we're fighting. You will inherit this house someday. You will inherit the foundation. You will inherit the responsibility that comes with both. I hope I will be there to guide you. But if I'm not, know this. You come from a long line of women who protected what was precious, who kept promises when no one was watching, who believed that doing the right thing mattered more than being safe or comfortable or rich. Be brave, my darling. Be wise. And never ever forget where you came from. I love you more than words can express. Mom, Emma closed the notebook and looked out through the glass crown at the stars. Somewhere out there, she believed Marguerite was watching. I hope I made you proud, Emma whispered. The wind picked up outside, rattling the glass panels, and Emma could have sworn she heard a voice respond. You did, my darling. You did. The third year brought an unexpected gift. A woman named Sarah Goldstein arrived at the Lantern House on a rainy afternoon in October. She was in her 60s with sharp eyes and silver hair, and she carried a briefcase that looked older than Emma. Miss Collins, I've come a long way to meet you. From Tel Aviv, I know. Dr. Hoffman told me you were coming. Did she tell you why? She said you had information about Marguerite, something that wasn't in any of her records. Sarah smiled. Your great-aunt was clever. She hid things in places no one would think to look. She opened the briefcase and pulled out a leather journal. This was my grandmother's diary. She was friends with Marguerite before the war. They grew up together in Paris. Emma took the diary with trembling hands. I didn't know Marguerite had friends. She had many, but she cut herself off from everyone after 1948, convinced that staying connected would put us in danger. Sarah's voice grew soft. She was right. The Resnicks watched everyone who had known her. My grandmother was followed for years. Emma opened the diary and saw handwriting she didn't recognize. French. Pages and pages of French. My grandmother wrote about Marguerite constantly, about their adventures as young women, about the work they did during the war. Sarah pointed to a specific entry. This one is important. Emma couldn't read the words, but she could see a date. June 1944. What does it say? It says that Marguerite wasn't alone when she rescued the Leonardo. My grandmother helped her. Sarah met Emma's eyes. The painting Victor wanted so desperately, my grandmother carried it out of Paris in a baby carriage while Marguerite distracted the Nazis. Emma's breath caught. Your grandmother was part of the network from the beginning. She and Marguerite built it together. Sarah took back the diary. I wanted you to know that your great-aunt wasn't as isolated as she seemed. She had people who loved her, people who would have done anything for her. Why didn't they stay in contact? Because love sometimes means letting go. Sarah's eyes glistened. Marguerite knew the Resnicks would never stop hunting. She knew anyone connected to her would be in danger. So she disappeared, cut every tie, became a ghost. Emma thought about her own isolation after Daniel died, about the walls she had built to protect herself from more pain. She was protecting you. Yes, and we spent 70 years wondering if she was still alive, if she was safe, if she remembered us. Sarah wiped her eyes. When I saw the news about you about the collection, I wept for 3 days. Not from sadness, from relief, because I finally knew she had made it. She had protected everything until the end. Emma reached across the table and took Sarah's hand. She made it, and she succeeded, because of people like you. Sarah squeezed back. Because of people like you too. She couldn't have done the final part alone. She needed someone to finish the work, and you were there. That evening, Emma read through Sarah's grandmother's diary with a translator's help. The stories were extraordinary. 2 young women barely out of their teens smuggling art out of Paris under the noses of Nazi officers. Racing through the streets at night, hiding masterpieces in laundry baskets and vegetable carts. And through it all, a friendship that had survived war and separation and decades of silence. She wasn't alone, Emma told Maggie that night, holding the toddler on her lap. She had people who loved her. She just couldn't let them close. Maggie babbled something that sounded like Marg-wheat. Emma laughed through tears. That's right, Marguerite, your namesake, the bravest woman I never met. On Maggie's 4th birthday, something extraordinary happened. A team of researchers in Italy announced that they had completed their analysis of Leonardo's vault. The contents had been cataloged, photographed, and secured. And the findings had rocked the scientific world. Emma watched the press conference on television, Maggie playing at her feet. Leonardo da Vinci was not just an artist, the lead researcher announced. He was a visionary who understood concepts centuries ahead of his time. The designs in this vault include flying machines, submarines, solar energy collectors, and medical devices that we are only now beginning to understand. What about the weapons? A reporter asked. The researcher's expression grew solemn. There were weapons, designs for firearms, explosives, chemical agents. Leonardo clearly struggled with the implications of his own genius. His final letter found with the collection explains why he chose to hide everything rather than share it with the world. The camera cut to an image of a handwritten letter. Leonardo's words translated on screen. I have seen what men do with power. They destroy. They conquer. They burn what they cannot possess. These inventions could transform the world. They could also end it. I choose to leave them here in darkness until humanity proves itself worthy of the light. If that day never comes, let the mountain keep its secrets forever. Emma felt tears streaming down her face. Mama! Maggie looked up at her with concern. Why crying? Because someone very wise did something very brave a long time ago. Emma pulled her daughter close. And because I understand now why Marguerite did what she did. What'd she do? She kept secrets safe until the world was ready to hear them. The Italian government voted to reseal the vault. Leonardo's weapons designs were destroyed. His other inventions were preserved for future study, but access was restricted to a handful of approved researchers. The decision was controversial. Some argued that the knowledge belonged to everyone. Others claimed that governments had no right to hide scientific discoveries. But Emma understood. Some secrets needed to stay buried. Some knowledge was too dangerous for a world that still hadn't learned to live in peace. Marguerite had known that. Leonardo had known it 500 years earlier, and now Emma knew it too. By the 5th year, the Foundation had returned 87 pieces. Families came from around the world to reclaim their heritage. Some wept, some laughed, some stood in stunned silence, unable to process what they were seeing. Every return was documented. Every story was preserved. The Lantern House became a living memorial to the families who had lost everything and the woman who had saved what she could. Emma spent her days managing the foundation, raising her daughter, and learning more about Marguerite with every passing month. She found letters hidden in the library walls, photographs tucked into book spines, a complete record of every piece Marguerite had protected, including details about the families who had entrusted them to her. She remembered everyone, Emma told Thomas one evening, every name, every face, every promise she made. That's a heavy burden to carry alone. She didn't carry it alone. Not really. She carried it with the people she was protecting. Their memories kept her going. Thomas nodded slowly. And now you carry it. Now we all carry it. The network, the Foundation, everyone who believes that what happened during the Holocaust should never be forgotten. On Maggie's 5th birthday, Emma took her daughter to the glass crown room for the first time. They climbed the spiral staircase together, Emma helping Maggie with the steep steps. When they emerged into the sunlit space at the top of the house, Maggie gasped, "Pretty? This is where your great-great-aunt kept her most important secrets." Emma sat in Marguerite's chair and pulled Maggie onto her lap. "Someday this will be yours." "Mine? All of it. The house, the foundation, the responsibility." Emma kissed the top of her daughter's head. "But that's a long time from now. Today we just enjoy the view." They sat together watching the mountains through the glass panels. "Mama?" "Yes, baby. What's responsibility mean?" Emma thought about it for a moment. "It means taking care of things that matter, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching." Maggie considered this with the seriousness only a 5-year-old could muster. "Like taking care of Teddy Bear," Emma laughed. "Exactly like taking care of Teddy Bear." The final piece went home on a Tuesday in November. It was a small painting, barely larger than a sheet of paper. A portrait of a young girl with dark curls and a mischievous smile. Not valuable by art world standards, not created by any famous master. But it was the last item on Marguerite's list. The final treasure she had protected for 73 years. The family receiving it had traveled from Argentina. 3 generations grandmother to granddaughter standing in the lantern house with tears streaming down their faces. "My mother painted this," the grandmother said, her voice breaking. "She was 15 years old. She painted herself looking in a mirror because she wanted to remember what she looked like before the world changed." She touched the portrait with shaking fingers. "She gave it to Marguerite in 1942, told her to keep it safe until she came back for it." The grandmother's voice dropped to a whisper. "She never came back. She died in Treblinka, 18 years old." Emma felt her own tears falling. Marguerite kept her promise. For 73 years, she kept a promise to a girl who never grew old. The grandmother looked at Emma with profound gratitude. "And now you finished what she started." That night, after the family had left with their precious portrait, Emma walked through the empty lantern house. All the hidden compartments were empty now. All the treasures returned. All the promises kept. She stopped in the circular foyer and picked up the brass lantern from the marble table. The same lantern that had been there when she first arrived. The same lantern Marguerite had carried from France in 1948. "We did it," Emma said to the empty house. "Every piece. Every family. Just like you wanted." Silence answered her. But it was a peaceful silence. A satisfied silence. The silence of a house that had finally fulfilled its purpose. Emma set down the lantern and climbed to the 2nd floor, to the nursery where Maggie was sleeping, surrounded by the stars Marguerite had painted on the ceiling. She watched her daughter breathe. In and out. In and out. Life continuing despite everything. "I understand now," Emma whispered. "Why you did it. Why you spent 70 years alone in this house protecting things that didn't belong to you." She thought about Victor Resnick dead in his cell, believing until the end that he had deserved what Marguerite protected. She thought about Heinrich Resnick before him spending 40 years hunting a woman who had simply tried to do the right thing. She thought about Leonardo da Vinci 500 years ago, hiding his most dangerous inventions because he understood that humanity wasn't ready for them. And she thought about Marguerite, a 17-year-old girl in Nazi-occupied Paris choosing to be brave when being brave could get her killed. "You weren't protecting art," Emma said. "You were protecting hope. The hope that someday things would be different, that families would be reunited, that promises would be kept, that the world would remember what was lost." She bent down and kissed her daughter's forehead. "And you were right. Things are different now, because of you." The next morning, Emma called a meeting of the Foundation's board. Dr. Hoffman was there. Thomas Morrison. Benjamin. Sarah Goldstein. Agent Chen, who had retired from the FBI and joined the Foundation as a security consultant. Everyone who had helped Emma along the way. "The collection has been fully restituted," Emma announced. "Every piece returned. Every family found. Marguerite's list is complete." "So what happens now?" Dr. Hoffman asked. "Now we keep going." Emma looked around the table at the faces of people who had become family. "The Marguerite Beaumont Memorial Foundation has a new mission. We're going to help other families, other collections, other pieces that have been lost since the war and are still waiting to be found." "That's a massive undertaking," Thomas said. "Marguerite's undertaking was massive too. She did it anyway." Emma smiled. "And she did it alone? We have each other." Benjamin nodded slowly. The network will support you, whatever you need. The museum world will support you too, Dr. Hoffman added. After what you've accomplished here, you have credibility that money can't buy. And the FBI, Agent Chen said, I still have contacts, resources. If you run into trouble with criminals like Victor, then we'll handle them together. Emma stood. That's the lesson Marguerite taught me, that no one can do this alone, that the only way to protect what's precious is to build something bigger than ourselves. She looked out the window at the lantern house glowing in the afternoon sun. Marguerite built this house as a beacon, a light in the darkness, and now it's our job to make sure that light keeps shining, for the families who lost everything, for the children who will never know what was taken from them, for everyone who believes that doing the right thing still matters. She turned back to face her team. So, who's with me? Every hand in the room went up. 10 years later, Maggie Collins stood in the glass crown room of the Lantern House watching her mother address a crowd of 200 people gathered in the garden below. The occasion was the Foundation's 10th anniversary, a celebration of everything they had accomplished, a remembrance of everything that had been lost. My name is Emma Collins, her mother said into the microphone, and 10 years ago I inherited a house shaped like a lantern from a woman I had never met. Maggie had heard the story 1,000 times, but she never got tired of it. Marguerite Beaumont spent 73 years protecting treasures that didn't belong to her. She kept promises to families who had been murdered. She preserved memories that would have been lost forever. Emma's voice cracked slightly. Even after all this time, the emotion was still raw. When I found this house, I was a pregnant widow with nothing. I thought I was inheriting property. Instead, I inherited a mission, a purpose, a reason to keep going when everything seemed impossible. Maggie watched her mother pause, composing herself. In the last 10 years, this foundation has returned 147 pieces to families across the world. We've helped other organizations recover thousands more. We've trained a new generation of researchers, investigators, and advocates. And we've proven that even 80 years later, the victims of the Holocaust have not been forgotten. Applause rippled through the crowd. But our work isn't finished. There are still pieces missing, still families searching, still promises waiting to be kept. Emma's voice strengthened. And as long as this foundation exists, we will keep looking. We will keep fighting. We will keep the light burning in this lantern house until every treasure is home. More applause, louder this time. I want to thank everyone who made this possible. The donors, the researchers, the network that has supported us from the beginning. Emma looked up toward the glass crown, toward where she knew her daughter was watching. And most of all, I want to thank my daughter Maggie, who reminds me every day why this work matters, who carries Marguerite's name and her spirit, who will continue this mission long after I'm gone. Maggie felt tears streaming down her face. Marguerite Beaumont believed that promises should be kept, that treasures should be protected, that doing the right thing mattered more than being safe or comfortable or rich. Emma raised her glass. Today we honor her memory, and we commit ourselves to finishing what she started, no matter how long it takes, no matter what it costs. To Marguerite, the crowd echoed. Maggie whispered the words along with them. To Marguerite. That evening, after the guests had left, Emma climbed to the glass crown room one last time. Maggie followed her, now a young woman of 15, tall and strong, and carrying herself with a confidence that reminded Emma of someone she had never met. They sat together at Marguerite's desk, watching the sun set over the mountains. Someday this will all be yours, Emma said. You've told me that before. I know, but today it feels more real. Emma took her daughter's hand. I found a letter yesterday, hidden in one of the library walls. Marguerite wrote it in 1995. What does it say? Emma pulled out the letter and began to read. To whoever finds this house, after I am gone, I am 72 years old today. I have spent nearly 50 years in this house protecting treasures that were entrusted to me during the darkest time in human history. I do not know if I will live to see them returned. I do not know if anyone will ever find this place. I do not know if the promises I made will ever be kept. But I know this, I did what I believed was right. I protected what was precious. I kept faith with people who trusted me when trust was the most valuable thing they had to give. If you are reading this, then you have inherited my burden. I am sorry for that. I would not wish this weight on anyone. But I am also grateful. Grateful that someone came. Grateful that the light still burns in this lantern house. Grateful that I did not spend my life in vain. Whoever you are, know that I believe in you, that I trust you, that I am watching over you even from beyond the grave. Be brave, be wise, Be kind, and never ever forget why this house was built. With all my love, Marguerite Emma folded the letter and handed it to her daughter. Keep it. It's yours now. Maggie held the paper like it was the most precious thing in the world. I won't let you down. I won't let her down. I know you won't. Emma pulled her daughter into an embrace. That's why she chose us. Not because we're special, but because we're stubborn. Because we don't give up. Because we believe that promises matter. They held each other as the last light faded from the sky. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Maggie. Outside the glass crown, the first stars were appearing. The same stars that had watched over Marguerite for 73 years. The same stars that would watch over generations yet to come. The lantern house glowed in the darkness exactly as it had been designed to do. A beacon of hope, a keeper of secrets, a testament to the extraordinary things ordinary people can accomplish when they refuse to give up. Emma Collins had inherited a house shaped like a lantern in the snow. She had found secrets worth $245 million. She had faced down men who would have killed her for what she knew. And she had won. Not because she was wealthy or powerful or connected, but because she had understood something that Victor Resnick and his family never could. The greatest treasures aren't the ones you possess. They're the ones you protect. They're the ones you return. They're the promises you keep even when no one is watching, even when keeping them costs everything you have. Emma stood in the glass crown room with her daughter by her side, watching the stars come out one by one, and she knew with absolute certainty that Marguerite was watching too. The lantern house had fulfilled its purpose. The light would never go out, and the promise that had been made 80 years ago in Nazi-occupied Paris had finally completely irrevocably been kept.